chose an idea called the AvengeHers Initiative. The idea was to bring together a group of remarkable people, see if they could become something more.
Everyday sane psycho.
Time for the faster baby.
Hello. Welcome to, I think this is our first live episode of the AvengeHers Initiative. I am your host, Brittany Monet, and unfortunately, Jenny Smith is not able to be my fellow female holding it down, but I always have Brother Nate with me, so, it's going to be a good time.
On your left, Cap.
Oh, that's right.
I say now technically I'm on your left now. What's good, Brittany Monet? It is good to be back, my friend. First of all, let me just start by saying Happy International Women's Day. You weren't here for that joke with Tatiana and Jenny last time we did an episode, but in honor of LeBron James and Jeannie Buss, when LeBron informed Jeannie that it was International Women's Day and her heart was filled with delight, that's how I'm going to start these episodes going forward because it makes me laugh inside, Brittany Monet, but also it should be International Women's Day every day, my friend.
Exactly. I mean, hey, I don't know. I feel like there wouldn't be a world without us. So,
I mean, quite literally, like, quite literally. I mean, I'm sure they got the science now that eventually none of us will be necessary to create life. But until then, shout out to all the women out there. But I'm glad we're back, Britt. I'm glad we're able to get one more episode in.
Yes.
Before the end of the year. Happy holidays to everybody out there.
Yes,
but yeah,
holidays.
This is going to be a fun episode. Just you and me talking about 2024 for the MCU and what we dug, maybe some of the stuff we didn't dig. And then at the end of the episode, we'll kind of give predictions for next year. But then also, we might be giving y'all a little spoiler, a little mid-credit scene in terms of the future of this podcast as it pertains to Nefarious Media, which we announced formally on Sunday, Brittany. Over at Post Wrestling, we formally announced that next year in January, we're launching Nefarious Media Network. The Kings of Sport is going to be under that umbrella. The Parlay is under that umbrella. Spinning Black Fist is under that umbrella. And, of course, the AvengeHers Initiative will be under that umbrella or parasol. I don't know the difference, Brittany.
I'm going to be real. I feel like I don't either, but I want to say a parasol is a little bit like cuter and automatically more like feminine and like its design and I don't know. I feel like it's not like a super like actual, it's more like to I think keep like the sun off of you versus like the rain.
Okay, so parasol is for the sun. See, I always associate parasol with like French people. So like I don't know if like a French person holding an umbrella, like does that make it a parasol? If you're in France and you're holding an umbrella, does that make it a parasol?
I don't know. I associate parasols with like the like 16, 17, 1800s, and like, oh, let's go on a stroll on the promenade and it's a chaperone stroll. And like, that's the vibes that I get from a parasol.
You can't get this kind of conversation anywhere, folks. Like we're breaking down the etymology of the parasol.
Yes, that actually right now has nothing to do with Marvel, but hey.
I mean, technically a parasol is a variant of an umbrella, so that brought it all the way back around, Britt.
That's right, variants.
So let's get into it, man. Like I haven't talked to you on this podcast about Marvel since episode 1.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Which is like back in March.
Yeah, and then yeah, so our schedules, because I'm all over the place with my schedule at work right now. I have now open availability, and so I'm sometimes in the morning, sometimes I'm in a late mid shift, and sometimes I'm closing. So now it's been kind of all over the place. I did go to Greece for about like a week and a half, which was very fun.
And it was the 1 week where Jenny and I's schedule worked out that we could record, and then Brittany's gone. But fortunately, we had to pull in one of our AvengeHers, Tatiana Hollander. She filled in when we talked X-Men 97. But yeah, it's been crazy, Cap, trying to like just work out schedules. But then also there's been so much Marvel news this year. Like there's only been a few projects, which we'll talk about in 2024, but there's been so much news.
Lots of news, or rumored news too, because there's some rumored stuff that hasn't been officially like picked up or, you know, verified by like the trades and whatnot.
Okay, shout out to, I see. So we got folks watching on Facebook and on YouTube right now, Cap. So I see Brent Chittenden in the comments giving us a thumbs up, man. Salute to brother Brent. Like, is Brent off today? Like, does Brent want to come on the show? Leave me a comment, Brent. Even though technically it's Brittany's show. So
I mean, hey, I'm cool with us having a third person, you know.
But we are not on Twitter or X. And do you know why, Brittany Monet?
Because we hate Elon Musk.
Well, that is true. But also Elon hates us because they've switched it where you can't stream unless you have a premium account now on Twitter.
Ew.
And spoiler alert, we ain't paying for no damn premium account, Elon.
No.
Not happening.
No, like I don't know if it's because, like, I think I told you I can't access Twitter through like desktop anymore. It keeps glitching and won't let me log in. And I don't know if it's because for the app version on my phone, I still have actual, like, mine is still Twitter. Like, I will show you guys. I'm not joking about this. Let's see if you can see it in the camera. Oh, it's all blurry. Or
it is. It's like a puddle of mud.
It's blurry, but it's there. It's probably because of my, what do you call it? But yeah, it is there. See, it still says Twitter. It still says Twitter. I have not updated my Twitter app in forever. So I don't know if it's because I haven't updated my app that like I can't access the desktop. So it does this thing where it's like glitching and loading. And every time I try to type to sign in, it just like refreshes. It keeps refreshing. And I'm like, okay. So that's fun. And that's the only website that does that on. So yeah, I can only access Twitter right now through my phone. So anytime someone sends me a link, I have to like either text it to myself and open it up on my laptop or like email it to myself. It's yeah.
It's too much work.
Yes.
But this is a good point, Brittany, to let people know, like, I'm on these blue sky streets. I've been on these blue sky streets, you know, not to brag, not to, you know, pat myself on the back, but, you know, I'm not Barry Horowitz. That's a reference Brittany will not get. But somebody out there chuckled at the Barry Horowitz reference. I
am on Blue Sky, but I'm not. That's
what I was going to say. Britt is on Blue Sky as well now, ladies and gentlemen, but she is not active, but she is there.
Yeah, I am also. It's at Hi Brittany Monet, the dot Blue Sky, whatever stuff it is. I'm there. I'm also on Hive, but I don't use that actively too much, and Threads as well. And I still have a Tumblr account, and I think they're all pretty much at Hi Brittany Monet.
I've never heard of Hive. I am on Threads though, because Threads is kind of like remember when iPhone, like Apple, like snuck that U2 album on everybody's phone, and nobody asked for it. It's kind of like that with Threads. Like I was on Instagram anyway, and they're like, "Hey, you should try Threads," and I'm like, "Okay, Instagram." So I've got Threads, but I'm never on there. I
feel like I post when I remember I haven't posted on the other like social media sites. I'm like, oh, let me go post on those. So I go post, and then like I forget. But even with Twitter, I feel like I'm not as active as I used to be in terms of posting. Like I feel like I lurk more nowadays than actually like posting. which I used to post like a lot, even if I was like at work and there was like a moment where I could like, hey, let me tweet on the floor. Well, I should be probably making this person's frappuccino. But now I feel like I just don't post as often as I used to. And this doesn't like, and I feel like a lot of people associate like how active someone is on social media as like how like depressed they are in their life. And I feel like I've had a rough year this year. Besides going to Greece was great, but I've had a lot of other stuff that was rough this year. So like, I feel like for the most part, this year's been rough and I have not been that active on social media. So I feel like I'm doing the opposite of like, I'm like hiding.
You're hiding. You're hiding in plain sight because we here live, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
For the Avengers initiative. So let's talk about, I'm trying to think where we should start because we had 4 projects, 3.5, depending on how you feel about X-Men 97 as it relates to the MCU.
I just didn't get to watch it. I feel like I would like it because I remember liking the original show back in the day, and I'm like, I need to rewatch that one because I don't. It was one of those shows where I knew I watched it, but I didn't watch every single episode. So I want to watch it in its entirety. That's what I'm doing with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, not to go off topic, but I'm almost done with Buffy.
We got to fight Joss Whedon, guys.
We do.
That's an inside joke that will not come outside, but. Just know, Joss Whedon, we own these streets, brother.
But yeah, 97, I definitely want to rewatch the original and then actually dive into the new one. But I've seen people tweet about things that I'm not. Some people were upset about certain things. But I don't know enough context to like give any commentary on it. However, Magneto's hair was popping is all I can say.
Yes, Magnus was Magnuson. X-Men 97 is great. Like I feel like, you know, there's a whole episode dedicated to it with me, Jenny, and Tatiana that you can check out the full episode on the Patreon, patreon.com/Kings of Sport. But I really enjoyed it. I felt like it was a great continuation of the original series, and it took it in some places I didn't expect. And they also did a great job of filtering the past 20 years or so of X-Men lore, whether it's the films, the comics, other cartoon series, just kind of sprinkling stuff in. And if you understood it or caught it, then it worked for you. If you didn't, it didn't take away from the story. But yeah, despite that man being a bad boss and showing feet in the chat like Doja Cat, it was a good series, man.
Okay. You know, I think the only difference between those two scenarios is maybe people wanted to see Doja's feet. You know, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a feet person myself. I think that's weird, but you know, I think in Doja's case, people were like more into it.
Hey, some people like cucumbers better pickle, Cap. We can't yuck anybody's yum. As long as you're not hurting nobody.
Yes, exactly.
But let's talk about 2024 because this was kind of Marvel pumping the brakes a little bit. You know, Feige and them pumping the brakes a little bit from
100%.
What we got in 23, 22, and 21, where they were just putting out so much content. And I get it because of the pandemic and where we were all kind of at. But post-pandemic, like particularly this year, it felt like, and I think the writer's strike also had something to do with it, and the actor's strike. We had two strikes.
Most definitely. And now there's also the video game strike, I think, going on.
Yes. So, like, just pay people what they owed. Sidebar. Corporations, pay people what they worth, man.
Like, that's so simple.
It should be simple, Cap. But this year, we only got 4 projects. And in chronological order, we had Echo, which I forgot was this year. I thought it was last year, back in January.
Yes.
We had Daredevil and Wolverine, which we will get into.
No, Deadpool and Wolverine.
I mean, he was kind of Daredevil-ish, though. He was kind of, I fucked it up, Brittany. You ain't got to put me on front street like that. Well, see, I had Daredevil on the brain because Daredevil's coming back next year.
Which we did. We can say we did get like an exclusive look at Daredevil this year, which I think looks really fun. I'm very
And
excited.
Wolverine was in the background too. You didn't see it. Like I said, it was Daredevil and Wolverine that was in the background, though. He was in the back. It was the Henry Cavill Wolverine that was in the background, Cap. You ain't see him. Shout out to the Henry Cavill cameo. That's still one of my favorite cameos in a movie filled with cameos.
I will agree. Yes, that was a really good one.
But yeah, we had Deadpool and Wolverine. And then we had Agatha All Along, which just wrapped a few weeks ago. And we had, I guess technically X-Men 97 was before Agatha. So we had Echo, Deadpool and Wolverine. I had to second guess myself. Agatha, X-Men 97, Agatha All Along, and we get What If in a couple days. The final season of What If, season 3. So by Marvel standards, kind of a minimal output this year, but I thought it was quality over quantity. So what did you think of these series, Cap? And, did you enjoy most of what Marvel gave us this year, at least on screen?
From what I have seen, yes, I actually.
So how many of those did you see?
So the only one I didn't see, as I said, was X-Men 97. I watched Echo, and I absolutely loved Echo. I thought I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about it, not because I'm not for a show with a Native American disabled lead. Like that was never gonna be my issue, obviously, with the show. I want to make that clear. I think I was just concerned because a lot of the shows that I was looking forward to that Marvel had put out previously did not hit. And the show that hit a lot for me that I didn't expect to hit for me was Hawkeye.
Yes, bro.
I think I enjoyed most of WandaVision, but as a whole, I didn't really care for it.
The ending hurt it a lot. Yeah,
and I really love Kamala, but I just feel like Miss Marvel was not as, I don't know, it didn't, I know that comics is not the same medium as film and TV, but I feel like there was still like a little spark of what the comics gave me reading the initial run wasn't there with the show. So I was very worried that Echo.
What about Loki? You didn't rock with Loki?
Oh, I love Loki. Loki's I think Loki is the one that everyone, I think, across the board liked. So I feel like that's harder to I don't know. I feel like everyone liked Loki. I loved Loki. Which also ties into Deadpool. But so I was very nervous that Echo was just not gonna hit for me. But I ended up just really loving it so much. It was so fun. I can't remember the actress' name, but she's just fantastic. And I loved the parts with Wilson, which was crazy because he likes to, act like he's like, oh, I love my niece. You're like, I love you and everything. And then he's not willing to actually learn ASL for his niece that he claims to love so much. And I just thought that was such an insane, I don't know. I loved it. And I loved also seeing all, if you're a Twilight fan, you recognize some of the native actors because they were in Twilight. Almost every episode when I was watching it with my little brother, I was like, hey, that guy is on, he's one of the wolves from Twilight, or this person was in Twilight. They play this person. And yeah, that's pretty much what. And now that we're watching Dexter New Blood, I'm like, hey, she's on Twilight.
I thought that Echo was kind of a pleasant surprise for me, Cap. Echo was Alaqua Cox was the actress.
Yes.
Charlie and M's cousin. She was excellent on the show, man. It was a show that I did not think I would enjoy as much as I did. Again, Marvel has had an issue with series finales or season finales. I understand what they were doing with all of the women at the end of the series. It kind of felt out of place in the story that they had been telling us, though. But other than that, man, I really enjoyed Echo. Anytime you can naturally kind of integrate these slice of life stories and bring attention to cultures that maybe don't get focused on a lot, I think that's cool. I enjoyed Echo a lot, man. And the relationship between Echo and Wilson Fisk, Kingpin on these streets, Mayor in the sheets. Nobody ever says that. But I thought that was so interesting. like
Mhm.
between the two of them, and like the fact again, like you said, like there was a care there, and then at the end, like what did you do to me? What have you done? And we get the hints of Fisk going into political office,
Yeah.
And that's obviously going to tie into Daredevil Born Again coming up
Yes.
in 2025. So I thought Echo was a breath of fresh air. I dug it. Like I understand why it might not have hit for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that, like, when you look at these shows on Marvel, I always say, Cap, like, everything is not for everybody, and that's okay.
Yes.
That's how it should be. Like, there are films like Eternals. Eternals wasn't my bag, but I'm
Yeah.
sure there's somebody watching or listening that Eternals is their jam, Cap.
Oh, I definitely see the people on Twitter who like go hard for that film. I
Yes.
think it's one of the most beautifully shot Marvel movies.
Yes.
And I think there are moments of Eternals that work so well, but as a whole, I did think it dropped the ball just a little bit. But it is really, I think, one of the most beautifully shot films. So I think people who like are raving about it, I'm like, they have some cred.
Yeah.
They're right. But yeah,
I mean, look, there's people out here on these streets, Cap. I ain't met them, but I'm sure. I'm sure there's people on these streets that love Ant-Man Quantumania. I ain't never met him. I ain't never talked to him. But if Ant-Man Quantumania made you happy, then I love that for you, individual.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, yes, but you're wrong.
I mean, yes, they wrong, but a feeling can't be wrong, Cap. And if they had a feeling of love for this Quantumania that you and I thought was a jumbled mess, then
that's a hard one to give someone like okay, I understand why you like it. That's hard. That's real hard.
But I'm not gonna stop somebody from loving Ant-Man Quantumania. But I feel like when you look at these series, like I look at it like the comics, man. Like the movies are the big events. The movies are the big annuals. And the shows on Disney Plus, they're like, you can read them if you want to. Yes, they're going to tie back to the overall story in some cases, but you don't need to watch it. It's not required viewing. And for the most part, I've enjoyed most of them, despite realizing that most of them do have flaws, particularly in that last episode.
I think, I think all of them, their bigger issues are in the finales, if anything. But I feel like the only series as a whole that was just was Secret Invasion, and I think that's like the one where it's like,
oh, that would hurt so much.
They had so much potential, and that could have been like
the cast was amazing,
like amazing cast. This could have, like, a Secret Invasion, that whole storyline could have been literally the next phase of like Marvel, following the like Infinity Saga, and it's just like they completely butchered and jumbled up that story entirely, where it just, I don't know. It wasn't the show that I know that came out last year, but that was the show that really just, like, I think really hardcore disappointed me, because I think Sam Jackson is so great, and obviously like for him to get his own show within Marvel was cool, and then for it to just not be great as a whole is just a very
through no fault of Sam or
it's not his fault. It's definitely none of the actor's fault, because I think, again, this one, it was heavy with the writing, that it
like
was just
Scrody, like Don Cheadle playing Skrull Rhodey. That still makes, like, one of the better scenes is him and Nick Fury talking, and the Pappy Van Winkle scene.
Yeah,
and we get like a little fun version of Rhodey. Like, that stuff was good, like from an acting standpoint. But the story, A, it made no sense, and B, there was no follow-up, because once we got to the Marvels, they was like, nah, none of that happened.
Yeah, and that's what I think was kind of just like, again, a great storyline from the comics that got entirely just like butchered. Yeah, so I think that's kind of why part of that, like, because again, like with Echo, I was like, there's a lot of pieces here that I think could work, and that's why I was nervous it wasn't, because it's like Secret Invasion wasn't what I thought it was. A couple other, like I said, Miss Marvel wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be. And not to the fault of the actors. I want to make that very clear. It's definitely not the actors' fault, in my opinion. I think it's a lot of the writing, and I think it does come from the executives. in the film and TV industry, and not just Marvel. I think it's them wanting to appease almost every single audience member when it's like, you can't do that. Like you said, like not everything is going to hit for everyone, and you just need to, I think, focus on telling the best story that you think you can possibly tell with the plot idea that you have, and not trying to cater to what everyone else likes, because I feel like that's when you come out with something that's more genuine and better, regardless of like how it resonates with everyone. And sometimes those stories hit better. Like I still think Werewolf by Midnight? Werewolf by Midnight. I feel like that's literally probably the best project that Marvel has done in a long, long time, like as a whole. Like that still I think is up there for me. And I think it was something that they weren't intending it to like hit with everyone. They're like, this is just a cool little fun idea. And I think it's like the best thing that they've done since probably the Infinity Saga. But you know, that's just me.
And that's the great thing about it, Cap, is that, you know, different shows can appeal to different people. You know, for me personally, like I thought Werewolf by Night was cool. Like it's not my jam. Like, but then again, like you know, like we talked, like I'm not a huge horror guy.
Yeah, that's true.
And even though like that wasn't technically like horror, it's in the genre, and so like I dug it for what it was, but it just wasn't like my thing that set my world on fire. But again, I'm not going to yuck your yum, Brittany Monet, because there's other shows that I absolutely love that you probably be like, because, and I'll say it, Brittany Monet. I'm not ashamed. I'm not afraid. I'm not scared. But to me, one of my favorite MCU shows was a show that kind of gets. It feels very polarizing. Like I think people either really dig it or they think it's in like low tier, like mid trash Marvel in terms of the Disney Plus shows. Is Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Like I absolutely love that show, even though again I know it's not perfect and I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I absolutely love the story of Sam and that relationship with him and Bucky.
Yeah, I think that was another show that the bad guys were right. Because like I don't know, you just went through this whole event where half of the population was taken away, and like, you know, I feel like to be one world, one people, and to really genuinely mean that, I mean, you actually care about every single person on this planet, whether they, you know, are someone who lives right next door to you or they technically live like 20,000 miles away. Like one world, one people. I feel like that is such like a good, you know, and that's probably where it starts falling into, I don't know what, anti-capitalism stuff, whatever. But I feel like that was such a good, like their mission statement, I think was very good. And it's hard to like knock that when, you know, you're living in a world where half of the people are gone and some of them are children, and, you know, having to readjust to life and learn things. And then all of a sudden all these people are back, and now it's like, let's go back to like, there's borders and like, you can't do this and do that. And it's just, I don't know. Because it falls into like, I feel like, you know, everyone deserves, you know, basic human rights. Everyone deserves access to food, shelter, and water, and a basic income. Like I feel like people deserve to be able to live minimally, and I feel like people think living minimally is not what like registers maybe for certain people. I don't know, but that's why I feel like that's what frustrated me with that show was like, you know, the bad guys were right.
Well, there's a couple things with that, and I will take a moment to introduce someone who's not a bad guy, Brittany Monet. Okay. I would classify him as a good guy, friend of the program. You know him, you love him, co-host of Kung Fu Island. Brent Chittenden is in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Brent, how are you, my friend?
I can't hear him.
I think Brent is muted. He was so moved by your passionate speech that he was muted. Emotionally muted. But while we get the technicals worked out, Brent, I will say, I think, because I've had a conversation with some friends about kind of the racial messaging in Falcon the Winter Soldier, and that like it felt like it only went but so far. And I would say for a Marvel project, let alone a damn Disney project, I think with the social messaging as well as kind of the racial stuff, I feel like they kind of pushed it as far as the mouse would let them.
Yes, I agree with
given
that.
those constructs. You know, again, Andy B, friend of the program, Andy B is like, damn, I wish Falcon and Winter Soldier were more like Black Lightning was on the CW, where they went hard when it came to like those racial messaging. But it's like there's only so far Disney's gonna let you go on that note. Brent Chittenden, what say you about the racial messaging of Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Brent is like, how dare you spring this trap on me, sir? Is Brent back? No. Do I have control over Brent's microphone?
Maybe.
All right. Brent left. Brent will be back. Okay. I feel like we should put up one of those Marvel tags like at the end of Civil War. Brent Chittenden will return. Brent Chittenden will return. But Brent, while we're waiting on Brent to come back, we talked about Echo. We talked a little bit about X-Men 97. We'll save Deadpool and Wolverine for when Brent gets back. Okay. But what do you think about the most recent offering from Marvel, which was Agatha All Alone?
Fantastic. I feel like this, I had no notes. I very much enjoyed it. I think that it was so fun. Catherine Hahn, what an actress. Gosh. Yes. I really really enjoyed every bit of it. Obviously, I knew Patti LuPone was going to crush it regardless of how, I knew she was going to do great regardless of what, material she was given. But what she was given was just beautiful. I absolutely loved Agatha All Along. The song is fun. It took me a minute to realize that every episode title is actually the lyrics of the song. Took me a minute, and then I was like, okay. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed Agatha, and it could also be because I was getting back into watching Buffy, so witches and everything is more I'm in that mindset of being cool with all of that, which I always have been. But Agatha really hit for me.
Yeah, Agatha was so fun. Brent Chittenden is joining us. We're kind of doing a year, and we can hear him. The spell. Oh, yay! The spell has been lifted. Brent has his voice back. He should have never made that bargain with that sea urchin. He just wanted to walk on land. He wanted to be part of this world so bad. Did Brent Chittenden. But we're kind of talking about the year that was with Marvel, Brent, and then later on we're going to get into our predictions for 2025. So in 2024, there were 5 projects under the MCU umbrella, if you count X-Men 97. We had Echo back in January. We had Deadpool and Wolverine. We had X-Men 97. We had Agatha All Along. And in a few days, we're going to get What If Season 3, the final season. What If? So what was your kind of overall thought about the year that was for Marvel? It's a year where we saw them kind of pump the brakes on the output that we've seen in years past from this company. But Brent being an aficionado of this stuff, what were your overall thoughts about 2024?
In sports terminology, this was a rebuilding year more than anything else. It was. We're getting the ideas and setting the stages for a bunch of different projects. I think as well this year sort of showed that they weren't going to be as precious with the turning into a big multiverse thing, but at the same time also setting the stage for a big multiverse thing. I really think that they learned some harder lessons this year. But in some ways, I don't know them and every other film company. I don't know if they learned the lesson that the reason why people aren't going to the movies is because you taught them they don't have to go to the movies. We have all these low box office counts, but at the same time, is you have taught them that a movie will be in a streaming service that they already pay for within 3 to 4 weeks, maybe even less. Like Red One, the Rock's movie is a prime example of that. Is I saw it in theaters, and then 3 weeks later, the ads are up, and it's already on Amazon. So,
Brendan's like, that was a bad financial investment.
Yeah,
I actually didn't mind it. It was okay. It wasn't great, but it was like The Rock kind of has two modes of acting these days. One is over the top and super exaggerated, and the other is super stoic and like not exaggerated. And that's kind of it, which is sad because we know he can act.
Yes.
But he is just he has decided to go the route of
he's playing the hits.
Yeah, this is what I do now. And it's not like Red One was like has some fun jokes in it, has some fun ideas, and it's one of those movies that I said this in a review on our show, that it is really going to be one of those movies that will be on the background at Christmas while you're doing other stuff, like getting the turkey ready and everything. That's the one's going to be playing on the TV. It'll be that and Die Hard and Home Alone, like circling on like TBS or TNT or one of those channels. They'll just be cycling through the 6 hours of holiday movies that they have.
There is a world, Brent Chittenden, because you, me, and Brittany, even though Brittany's a little bit younger than us, we grew up in a world where one of the big things around Christmas time was Turner, whether TBS or TNT, would always do the 24-hour marathon of A Christmas Story. There's going to be a world 20 years from now, when we may or may not be here, where Red One is the cherished holiday cult classic that gets put on a loop by some random network, and Dwayne will finally have the last laugh on everybody.
Maybe. But I wouldn't put money on it, but maybe.
It'll be a double feature, 12 hours of Red One, 12 hours of Black Adam, Brittany.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
We still
I don't
have
know
to do
about that.
We still have to do Black Adam for the Rocky Maivia picture show one of these days. Like I have thoughts on that particular DC film, but let's not cross the streams here, Brent Chittenden. Because overall, what did you think of the quality of what we got in 2024? You know, you said this was a rebuilding year. Brittany and I talked about how much we were surprised by Echo and how much we both loved Agatha all along. I thought X-Men 97 was fantastic. We'll get into Deadpool and Wolverine here in a bit, but overall, just in terms of a quality standpoint, what do you think of 2024?
Pretty solid and surprising. Like Agatha All Along was a show that I didn't care about, like going into it. I had mild interest just to kind of see what they were going to do, but by the time I had finished the second episode, I was all in on it. Like I really enjoyed this show from start to finish. I'm very curious to see where it leads to. Not trying to spoil anything. The ending was somewhat surprising for me in terms of what happens to Agatha. The other things, like X-Men 97 was another one. Now, I may have made it better for myself, because before 97 started, my wife and I started watching the original X-Men, the animated series, but we started with the last season. And what many people don't remember is that last season of the X-Men animated show is not good.
Yeah,
it was kind of an accidental season. They didn't think they were going to get renewed, and then they did. So they went back to the animation company and went, okay, we're doing another season. And the animation company that had like handled the cartoon for the other 4 seasons had already booked, because they're like, well, you told us we weren't working, so we got other jobs. So the first 2 episodes are done by them, and then it's a completely different company that was like, they're like, to use a Simpsons phrase, they're cheaper, slightly legal Mexican cousin kind of thing. It was just like, there are things that are off model, and like the stories weren't particularly great. There's one episode that Jen pointed out to me as we're watching it. At the end of it, she's like, Rogue wasn't wearing her gloves for like most of that episode. And she's like touching people and hugging people and all this other stuff. And it's not like a plot point where she lost her powers. It's they just didn't draw them on her. So having gone through that and then watching X-Men 97 is like, oh, this is the stuff. This is good. This is what I wanted. So yeah, that's been really good. And then, you know, we'll get into it more, but Deadpool and Wolverine was a lot of fun.
Yes.
So yeah, overall, like, solid, but like there maybe a little bit of room for improvement.
I liked, and it's funny to say this, knowing, like, because Brittany and I just kind of checked on what's on the slate for 2025. And I felt like it's really cool that they kind of gave us less. That's, spoiler alert, that's not going to be a thing next year. They're giving us a lot next year. But Britt and I had a conversation where we're talking about Agatha, and it's like the best thing Agatha did for me, Brent, was it made me actually care about Wanda's kids. Yeah. The whole time through WandaVision, I was like Michael Jordan on these streets. I was like, F them kids, man. Ain't nobody worried about your imaginary kids, Wanda. You killing all these people in the multiverse for your imaginary kids with your robot husband. Ain't nobody worried about that. But seeing what's my man's name, Cap, that played Billy?
Oh my God. Joe, is his name Joe Locke?
Joe Locke. Seeing Joe Locke, who I had never seen in anything before this, like, he made me invested in that character. The story made me invested in that character. And like, even the costume, like when he broke out the costume in the penultimate episode, I was like, okay, I'm here for Wiccan. So yeah, like, they made me care about Wanda's kids, which is something that I had never done prior to this. So yeah, Agatha was good. X-Men 97 was fantastic. Echo, like I said, Echo was a surprise, particularly how they left things off with Wilson Fisk. And then, come on, Brittany Monet, we got to get into it now. Brittany's sitting here this whole time, like, waiting for me to bring this topic up. Like, whoo, I'm finna make a name for myself. Talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, Brittany Monet.
Yeah, gosh. I was nervous because of all of, like, the casting announcements. I got, like, coffee on my face. That's fun. Because of all the casting announcements, I was, like, a little worried that it just wasn't gonna hit because of the previous Marvel stuff from film wise was, like, kind of falling apart for me. So I was just very worried. And then I saw the film, and it was so much fun. It is what I think we needed to, one, say goodbye to the Fox universe of Marvel, because even if maybe not all the Fox films were great, I still feel like they were fun. And there's people who, like, will ride or die for some of those movies. Like, I'm gonna ride or die for Elektra. So that was my favorite cameo right off the back, was seeing her. It was Elektra. Yeah, I got so happy. Because I was like 12 or 13 when Daredevil came out, and I remember seeing that, and, like, you know, her, like, practicing with the little sword thingies, I forgot what they're called, to Evanescence. Like I think that is what filled a personality. So yeah, it was fun. Obviously, Ryan Reynolds to me is always really fun to watch. And everyone loves Hugh Jackman. Like, Hugh Jackman is literally probably one of the greatest living actors. So I loved everything about it. Channing was funny. I don't know if I want a full spinoff though with him as a Gambit. But I feel like what he did was fun.
It might be too much of a good thing.
Yeah, and there's someone else who I feel like might actually be a really good Gambit. Yeah, but I think
you want my boy to run it back. We talked about him on the parlay.
Who?
The man from John Carter Mars from Friday Night Lights. Taylor Kitsch.
Oh, Taylor Kitsch.
Is this the Taylor Kitsch redemption tour, Cap?
No.
Oh, damn. Merry Christmas, Taylor Kitsch.
Sorry. I think if you watch Yellowstone, I think Luke Grimes, who plays Casey on it, I feel like he would be a really, really great Gambit. That's my opinion. But I could be wrong, you know? Hey. But But yeah, I really love Deadpool. And then all the little ties into kind of Loki and the whole, like, all of that. It was just fun. It was fun. Good times.
Yeah, I agree. I think Deadpool and Wolverine, to me, it was kind of, Brent used the analogy for the MCU in 2024 of the rebuild year, for a sports team. I think Deadpool and Wolverine was kind of that key veteran acquisition, Brent, that you'll see a lot of times. Teams in a rebuild, we're going in a fresh direction. We're kind of starting over, but we kind of need something to give the fans hope that, hey, we're not tanking. And so they'll bring in like a veteran that's still got a little juice left in the tank. And they brought in Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, Jennifer Garner, my girl Daphne Keene. That was one of my favorite cameos when Daphne Keene came out. Wesley Snipes. Let's talk about the Dave Walker, Brent Chittenden, Wesley Snipes. I felt like Deadpool and Wolverine was, yes, this love letter to the Fox universe, something that the Sony universe will never get. Sorry, Madam Web. I don't know why I'm being mean to Sony at Christmas time, but you know what you did,
They
Sony.
deserve it.
Yeah.
Every bit of it.
Even your boy Aaron Taylor Johnson couldn't say this damn universe. Poe Craven.
Oh, I need to go see that movie. Maybe I'll do that Monday afterwards.
Hopefully you see. Or you could just wait 2 weeks and it'll be available for streaming.
But I want to see Aaron Taylor Johnson being hot on the screen.
On the big screen.
Well, fair enough.
So hurry up is what we're saying. It ain't gonna be in theaters long, given the current box office. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Freaking wicked.
The profits for Craven are not defying gravity. One could say they are leaning into the gravity because they sink it, ladies and gentlemen. But I think when you look at Deadpool and Wolverine, it does a great job of showing honor to the Fox universe, tying into the MCU, but also kind of being like, hey, we know we got problems. We know everything ain't been great the last few years. And to me, Brent, it's another corner of this universe that they've unlocked. Like I think with Agatha and Wanda and stuff like that, you've got like this magic corner, Doctor Strange. We've got the space corner with the Guardians and them whenever they come back. But we've got like this self-referential corner of the MCU with Deadpool that I think could be a lot of fun. And it also was one of those films where I think it felt good. Like Marvel needed a W because when you talk about 2023, there were films that I love, Brent Chittenden, like the Marvels, like what that movie was, like when you had all three of those women and Iman Vellani is just fantastic. Even if the material around her isn't the best, but I love the Marvels for what that movie was and what it meant to my nieces. Like that was a good time. Some of the shows from last year, I dug. But when you look at like Loki season 2, like is probably one of my favorite seasons of Marvel television in recent memory, but they haven't quite hit the masses like they had in years prior, Brent. And I feel like Deadpool and Wolverine was kind of a much needed, like, hey, y'all can talk about superhero fatigue all you want. Y'all can talk about Marvel fatigue all you want. But when we give you the goods, which we did with this and we will with X-Men, when they fully become a part of this universe, and Fantastic Four, when they fully become a part of this universe, like y'all gonna come back.
Yeah. Deadpool Wolverine like just worked on so many levels for me. Like I'm a lifelong comic book geek, in case your viewers haven't seen my office before. And I work at a comic shop. So like on one level, like that was one of the things that I really liked about it is it threw in a ton of jokes directly aimed at me and my generation of comic book nerd. The whole sequence where they're going through the multiverse and looking for the different Wolverines. And the minute the Age of Apocalypse Wolverine showed up, I just started howling. And my wife's like, what are you laughing at? Like, oh, nothing. I'll explain later. But and I like the idea that Ryan Reynolds has been doing the interview circuit for something recently, and he's mentioned that he foresees Deadpool's role going forward as more of a supporting character. Like he's kind of told Wade's story as much as he wants to do a full story with him, but to have him as part of teams and in the background of other people's movies. And I like that idea. I like him being shoehorned into teams that like will have characters that his comedy will play off well off of, like, you know, him and Captain America, like either of them, either Rogers or Sam, will work fantastically well.
Sam is not going to have any time for Wade's.
I feel like Sam would be better as a like comic thing. Like I like Chris Evans and him. They obviously they were great together on the screen, but I feel like Sam and Wade would really like. I feel like butt heads more than like Rogers. I don't know why. I just feel like that would be the bigger.
I feel like Steve would be more patient with Wade, whereas Sam will reach his limit faster than Steve.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if they do it this way, but in the comics, whenever Deadpool is on a team with Captain America, it's weird. It's kind of like the Punishers. They just both fall back into, this is the greatest soldier who ever lived. So this is the general of my platoon, and I'm just going to follow his orders and like kind of be like sort of straight laced with him and follow his rules. And I kind of like that idea, except for Deadpool occasionally cracking jokes that he doesn't get. But yeah, I'm very curious to see where they go with him next. Like, do we see him right away in something, or are they going to hold him off until one of the big Avengers movies later on?
That's a good question, because I feel like Deadpool's the kind of character that could just pop up in an episode of something and just be there, and it would work with the character. But I could also see him, Brittany, saving it for one of these Avengers films that we got coming up in 2026, and just like throwing all the toys in the toy box. What do you think? When do we see Ryan Reynolds next in this universe?
I feel like for sure it's going to be one of the Avenger movies, because there's no, like, they're pretty much bringing everybody back for that.
We'll talk about that here
according to rumors. They're bringing everybody back, is what it looks like. So I feel like that. But I feel like if I don't say this on this podcast, even though my little brother doesn't listen to my podcast, he's going to get mad if I don't throw this idea out there, because he talks about this all the time. They need to do Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. My little brother wants it. He is a huge Deadpool fan. I think he saw that movie at least 10 times in theaters. So he is like, Deadpool is his guy. So, and that's one of his favorite comics. So they got to do that to, one, make my little brother happy. And I think it would be kind of fun. And they can make it some weird way where it turns out maybe he was just dreaming the whole time and he really didn't kill everyone. And, but, I feel like it would be fun kind of to see the chaos of that. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely going to be one of the, probably one of the Avenger movies, but I don't know. I kind of want to see him and Charlie Cox do something.
Going off of your brother's excellent idea, I could see that. And again, it would depend on money and schedules and stuff like that. But I could see that, if not like a full screen, full feature, I could see that being like one of their annual specials, like Werewolf by Midnight, or something like that, where
that's my movie.
we get or the Guardians Christmas special from last year, where we get like an hour or so of this dream that Wade is having on Halloween, and whoever's available, because you ain't gonna get everybody for this little shindig, but I'm sure there's gonna be people that like Kate Bishop. What's her name?
Oh, Haley Steinfeld.
Haley, you know what I'm saying? She just got married or engaged or whatever to Josh Allen. I'm sure, they like, hey man, we could use a little extra change for this house, this dream house that we're building in upper eastern Buffalo, which should be nobody's dream. Sorry, Buffalo. Like I could see her being in the show. I could see, Tom Hiddleston. He's always down for this kind of thing. I could see Hiddleston showing up.
He got a baby. He got to make money.
Right. So yeah, like that could be a fun, like one-off, like event that they do on Disney Plus. Like I could see that. That'd be fun.
I could see it being animated too.
Yes, yeah.
The-
And then
the-
you could get more of the MCU because you're just paying for voices and not. That's still going to be expensive paying for all
yeah,
these voices, but
or
less
you get
expensive
the
than
sound
live.
alikes that they've used in certain cases with that show, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
we'll get the store brand Wish Tony Stark that we've gotten already.
Yeah, that I had never thought of that
Wish
as an
Tony
idea,
store
but it'd be
brand Tony
fun.
Stark. He sounds good.
It's I saw it. He's a veteran animated guy. Like
Okay.
I'm trying to remember who he is.
Is it? It's not because I know there's a guy that's been in the video games a lot. I don't think it's that guy. I think they got a different Tony Stark, like the one that was on the Earth's Mightiest Hero cartoon.
Oh yeah, that was a good show too.
It was. But I think when we kind of look at some of the news, like I feel like we're here now, Brent, because like Brittany and I were talking about, we didn't get a lot of projects in 2024, but we did get a lot of news or rumored news, particularly when we go back to the summer and look at Comic-Con, where the big news is, speaking of Tony Stark on these streets, Brent, RDJ is back. I know Brittany Monet has thoughts, so we'll go to you first because I feel like Brittany has some heat for us, and I want to start with the mild first. So mild-mannered journalist Brent, what do you think about RDJ coming back, not to play Tony Stark, we assume, but to play, as was announced at Comic-Con, Victor Von Doom. Dr. Doom is finally here.
I'm of two minds.
Okay.
One of them is very cynical. It's Disney looking at the box office and going, when was the last time we made $1 billion off of one of these? Get those guys. Because the thing that I like, to me, kind of gets lost is, yes, it's Robert Downey Jr. coming back and playing a different character, but it's also the Russos coming back too.
Yes.
And it really feels it was like break glass $1 billion idea. Like the you could hear the dump trucks full of money pulling up at all these guys' houses. To be fair as well, like also cynical me, is the Russos kind of need a win at this point. Like the stuff they've been doing on Netflix has been okay to good, but nothing super memorable that anybody's talking about. So there's that side of it. And with the latest rumor of Chris Evans coming back for it as well, is like, But the other part of me is these guys made some great Marvel movies. Maybe I should just like trust in the system in this case. Like I have ideas of where that's going, especially with Chris Evans coming back. I've got like in my head how they bring him back in for what part, but we won't know for sure for a while yet. They're going to keep that like super quiet, I imagine.
Yeah. Brittany Monet, my dear friend, I've known you for a long time.
Yes.
Listeners know Brittany Monet is very thoughtful, very mindful, very demure, very cutesy even. But I feel like you have some issues with the news of the RDJ casting. So the floor is yours, Cap. What do you feel about Robert Downey Jr. returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Victor Von Doom?
Well, pretty much what Brent was saying in his cynical part of it was that it really does feel like a cash grab because, yes, it's no secret that Marvel has, as a whole, not done well lately. And he's right. The last time that they made that kind of money that wasn't Deadpool and Wolverine was when it was the original Avengers and the Russos directing, and the Russos have not had anything big either, as you said. So it's just kind of like, it feels just like a nostalgia grab and a cash grab. And it's just like, I don't know, it's kind of tiring as a whole, where like, I think there is no trust in being able to do new and refreshing ideas or like new actors. Because there's a whole set of new actors that have shown up, whether or not their actual films were great. They themselves as the characters were fun. And it's like, why can't we see them? Like, I know some people hate Simu Liu as a person because he says some stuff that is like, why are you talking, sir? But I really loved him as Shang-Chi. I thought that
Yeah.
movie was fun. I thought that
Yeah.
was great. Like, where is he? Bring him back.
Mhm.
Like, so it's a little, and I know that, Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel and Captain Monica Rambeau has not hit for certain people, but I still feel like they're great. Like, where are they? And I understand it's a industry business and you want to make money and there's looking where the profits were, but at the same time it just feels so disingenuous, and I just feel like they could have got someone else to play Victor Von Doom. And where's the there was a moment to probably find a Romani actor who could play that part, which Victor's race and identity is a huge like part of like his motivation and what he does, the things he does. So to have an actor who is not of that identity playing that character too is just another like, it feels, man. I know there's like a comic storyline where like I think they like or body switch or whatever, something like that, but I don't know. I'm not sold. I'm not really happy about RDJ being back. Give me another Tropic Thunder. Do that instead.
They unfortunately they could not make a Tropic Thunder now.
No, I know.
Have it hit the same way. I'm kind of in between you and Brent on this one, Brent. And this is where if Chris were here, Chris would call me an idealist, but I would counter with I'm also a realist. I'm the realist idealist. For those that listen to the NWA podcast, you know that. But I think that, yes, it is a cash grab. Yes, it is, kind of going back to the well. It's playing the hits like we talked about with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I think, and it's funny because they are adhering themselves to a standard that nobody else but them, like there are certain outliers, but in terms of the superhero genre, nobody else but them has met the standard. So even when you have something like Wakanda Forever, which I thought was a very well done film, despite some of the marvelous stuff that kind of got shoehorned in. Like that made a bunch of money, but it didn't make Black Panther money. And so that's seen as somehow a failure, even though DC would kill to have Wakanda Forever money. You know what I'm saying? Like some of these other companies would kill to have mid, quote unquote, Marvel money. And so Marvel is like competing against themselves at this point. They're like, we're not making as much money as we used to, fellas. We got to do something. And so they back up the Brinks truck to the Russos, to RDJ, and quiet as kept. Like we talked about, Marvel maybe not hitting as much as they have since the Infinity Saga, or the Russos not hitting as much as they had when the Infinity Saga was popping. Low-key, RDJ, these Dr. Doolittles and these Sherlocks on these streets ain't really been exciting people. And so I think RDJ kind of needed this too in a way. So I do think, like you're saying, Britt, it is corporate and capitalist and cynical. But I also think if I'm going to trust anybody to quote unquote fix the Marvel universe, not that I think it needs fixing, like it just needs refining. Like that's the word I would use for it. I would trust those guys. Like I trust the Russos to come up with a good story and a reason why RDJ, why Tony Stark, at least somebody who looks like Tony Stark, is playing Dr. Doom. And I trust RDJ as an actor, Cap. Like I feel like, yes, the money is always going to be an incentive, but I don't feel like he would come into this with something that would tarnish his legacy in these films.
Yeah.
As an actor, I feel like he'd be like, if there was some bullshit that they were trying to put on the screen, he'd be like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's my Tony Stark. I'm not going to do that, guys. Well, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. I'm not going to do that. It's not a good Tony Stark.
No, it's not. That was insane.
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to,
I'm just a dude disguise of another dude.
Yes, that's a good Robert Downey Jr. But I feel like
I love that movie.
By the time, because here's the thing, like we can have this conversation, folks. Because I hear a lot of people, particularly on social media, man, that are kind of long for yesteryear of the MCU. When, if we're being real, everything back in the quote unquote golden days of the MCU wasn't a hit. Like everything didn't hit back then. But when we got to Infinity War and Endgame, everything made sense as much as a comic book movie can make sense. and the feels were there. And so, like, yes, the last phase or so has been all over the place. But I have faith. Maybe it's misguided faith, Brent. Maybe it's misguided faith, Britt, that they have an end game, no pun intended, for all of this. And we will see Shang-Chi back. We will see Kate Bishop. We will see these young Avengers that they're assembling with Kamala Khan. We will see these Eternals, whether you want to or not. Some of these Eternals is coming back. We will see some of these loose threads tied up so that we can kind of end this era of Marvel on a good note before moving on to your Fantastic Fours, your X-Men, like the next. And so, yeah, like I have a feeling, Brittany, they're going to pull it off, but that's only based on the fact that I've seen them do it before when, the whole thing with the Infinity Saga, nobody had ever done that before in film. Like over a decade culminating in this one thing. And so it's like, yeah, like it's not going to be easy, but if anybody can do it, like I kind of put my faith in these guys, even if at the end of the day, it is just a cash grab, Cap.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that they can pull it off. It's just more so that, and I think this is something that is also happening with Star Wars, is that like they're relying too much on a certain sector of the fandom to cater to and tell stories to, that it makes it hard for anything good and new to like thrive. Like, I think The Acolyte is probably one of the best things that Disney Plus as a whole has done. Mm-hmm. And yet that's the show that has it's not coming back. It's never probably going to come back. And I think that's the best thing they've done. And though I am enjoying Skeleton Crew, this already got greenlit for a season 2 before anyone had even seen it. And I think that's a little frustrating. Love Jude Law. Think he's great. I think all the kids on the show are fantastic, but I just think that we're in this place of safe casting. Because even with I think the Fantastic Four cast, it feels safe. Like, I love Pedro Pascal, but he feels like he's the man of color that's the safe casting choice. And I feel like, again, it's kind of boring that Sue and Johnny are both white again. And I don't know. I'm just I think the only person that I'm really excited for in that movie is, I can never say his name right, but Cousin from The Bear. He's the only one that I'm hey, he's the one playing the Thing. I think he's the only one that I'm okay, that's a fun casting choice. I love Vanessa Kirby. I think she's a great actress, but I just feel I don't know, the whole Fantastic Four casting and then hearing the, Robert Downey Jr. is coming back, I just feel very kind of defeated with my hopes for it to be fully good or to be, I don't know, better than what they did before. But also
to be fair, coming off the last Fantastic Four, Cap,
I didn't see it.
The Fan Four stick with Trask, even if the new Fantastic Four is Quantumania level of quality, it's still better than that damn Fan Four stick movie.
I didn't see that one.
That movie was Michael B. Jordan may have been the only good thing. Michael B. Jordan, Reggie Cathy, and my guy that played the Thing were the only good parts of that movie.
Jamie Bell? Is that what his name is? Yeah. Yeah, that was a movie that was the casting was good, but it was cut off at the knees before it even got going, because it essentially was much like the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie. They had to make it in order to keep the rights.
Yeah.
And then they didn't end up keeping them anyway. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I hate to be the cynical, mean person who doesn't enjoy stuff, but I don't know. I feel I was very kind of oh, when they cast Pedro. I love Pedro, but I just feel he's not who I would have picked for Mr. Fantastic. I would have went with an Indian actor.
Well, I know who you would have gone with, Brittany Monet. Your man Raul on these streets.
Yes. Raul Coley, come on. He's I don't know. Or even
I've told you my theory on Reed Richards, though. And Brent, no offense, because we love you. But to me, and this is one of the few instances where I feel the character of Reed Richards, he has to be white. Because I feel Brittany, and we've talked about this before, I feel there's a level of hubris from Reed Richards that only a successful white man has had.
Pedro Pascal's not white.
in real life. But I mean, they want him to be white. He's like this, like you said, he's the safe actor.
I'm just gonna like look out the window
Brent,
and just
Brent
sort of.
like, he's like, I have zero white man hubris right now.
I would counter that idea when they announced that Giancarlo Esposito was doing something for Captain America. There was a rumor that was short-lived floating around that like, oh, he's playing Reed Richards, and I'm like, oh, that's good. Like I can get behind that because like solid actor.
And he does carry that level of like he is smarter than everyone.
He's naturally gray in his temples already. Like these. I was kind of hoping. Weirdly, I was hoping for like sort of an older cast, like you could diversify that. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's great. But well, we'll see. That movie apparently doesn't even take place in the MCU. So,
wait, the new Captain America movie doesn't?
Sorry.
It's a separate universe.
Yeah, at least for now.
Yeah, and to clarify, to put a button on my point, like again, we love everybody here at the Kings of Sports / Nefarious Media, but you know who the people were that were cloning sheep and building black holes in real life. And they didn't look like me. That's all I'm going to say. They look closer to Brent. And they need to be stopped. Why are we creating, like, I'm never letting that go, Brittany. When those scientists, I think it was Switzerland, are like, let's design a black hole. Let's see if we can recreate a black hole on Earth. Why? Why? Don't we have enough problems in the world? Why can't you come up with something to help homeless people or help hungry kids? We building black holes and cloning sheep. I think that sheep is like dead.
Probably.
It was a long time ago when Dolly was cloned. But yeah, stop making black holes and super colliders and stuff. Stop it. That's some Reed Richards type shit. Is all I'm saying.
You definitely have a point. Like he comes off like, quite frankly, he comes off as an arrogant white guy in a lot of like portrayals as him. He would definitely be like, part of me feels that like he is a character that should also be like portrayed as neurodivergent at this point because he gets those singular focuses and starts working on these black holes.
Is he wants your boy that played Lex Luthor in Batman v Superman.
Oh, don't even. No, I did not say that. That's just mean.
What's his name? Joel Eisenberg?
Why would you do that to Jesse Eisenberg?
Jesse Eisenberg. He wants Jesse Eisenberg as Reed Richards. You did it, Brent.
Why did I click the link? Why did I come here?
Well, let's talk about 2025 because we've already kind of dipped into the Fantastic Four, guys. We've kind of talked about the Avengers films coming up in 2026, but we have a crazy slate of Marvel in 2025, Brent. Starting off with a movie that I'm super excited for and nervously optimistic for, and that is Captain America, Cap 4, Brave New World, Anthony Mackie's first leading film in the MCU. We've got Thunderbolts, which the trailers have been pretty fun so far. Like I'm digging the Thunderbolts, at least the vibe that they're giving off right now. We got Thunderbolts coming up. We've got Fantastic Four coming up. We've also got a few shows as well. We've got Ironheart that's slated to come out in 2025. We've got the animated shows, Spider-Man, I'm in high school, whatever the title is. We've got Eyes of Wakanda, and we got the big one in terms of TV for next year, Daredevil Born Again. And then to close out the year, and this is where I would kind of say, Britt, if I'm being an optimist about this, Marvel can do both things at the same time, or at least they should be able to, in terms of, we're going to dip back into the past and cash in on nostalgia, but also we're going to give you new characters to care about. And maybe 5 years from now, you'll be nostalgic for those characters because closing out the year, we got Yaya and Sir Ben Kingsley with Wonder Man. So out of that slate, Britt, what just immediately jumps out to you in terms of like, I'm excited for that. I'm hyped for that.
Daredevil, like point blank, Daredevil. That out of the Netflix series, that was probably the strongest from start to end. Daredevil
Iron
like
Fist shade
first
is real.
Iron
Luke,
Fist makes me angry.
Luke Cage's like first season is really
Excellent.
good, and then it kind of falls off. And Iron Fist,
You didn't like Bushmaster Brent Chittenden.
Iron
is
Fist
mine,
just
Luke
finds its
Cage.
footing at the end of that show.
Um,
It finally figured out what it was doing with itself by the end of it.
yes.
But also personally, Daredevil's just one of my favorite characters, and Charlie Cox has been really good in that role from start to finish. So I'm excited for him getting another crack at it. Him and John Bernthal as Punisher apparently will be appearing in it. I'm curious to see what they're actually doing with the show, because we know that was a show that was started off as one thing. They shut down production, retooled, and then redid it, and it is now another thing than what it originally was meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of curious what is going on with that, just from like a technical level. I'm 99% sure it has nothing to do with it, but the Born Again storyline in the comics is like kind of one of those like cornerstone Daredevil books. It's one at the store I work at that anytime somebody's looking for a Daredevil book, it's like pretty much the second book we hand them. So I'm hoping it has at least like the feel of that book, because then I'll be super happy. I am really interested in Wonder Man, given the limited footage that we've seen in those Disney trailers. Just like, what are they doing with this guy? Is he superpowered to begin with? Does he get superpowers? Is this just like another? Now people are going to like groan at this. Is this another like She-Hulk meta show that they're doing, or is this something else? It's really hard to tell. But the cast is really good, so I'll watch it.
Yes, if we can get Ben Kingsley twerking with Megan Thee Stallion, Brittany Monet, it would be amazing. What are you most looking forward to in 2025, my friend?
Yeah, it's gonna be the same. It's Daredevil. Like, I'm even more excited for that than the movies, to be honest. I think, like, again, like Brenton had said, that Daredevil really was the most solid of the Netflix shows from the Marvel shows. Charlie Cox, he is so good. I loved that whole cast, even if some of their characters I didn't care for. As the whole, like, the cast, they were just so great. So I do want to see them back and see what they're doing, and what I want to know what the original. I don't remember what the original idea was, so I am interested to see what the retooling of it is. I just think this probably might be the best thing. Who knows? I'm hoping that it's gonna be as good as the Netflix show or close to it. But yeah, that's what I'm most excited for. And then, I don't know much about Wonder Man. That's like one of the characters that I'm like, I don't know really anything about him. So, I mean, I think it'll be fun in terms of like who the cast is so far. But yeah, that's kind of it. Oh, Ironheart, Anthony Ramos. Like, come on. That might be cool.
Yeah,
Ironheart's the one that I'm like, I'm almost at this point, I'll believe it when it's actually airing.
Yeah.
Because it's been done, what, like 2-3 years? It finished. And they just haven't found a spot to put it in. So
yeah, that one's going to be interesting. I feel like when you look at Fantastic Four, we already kind of talked about it. Like what they do with that intrigues me. But in terms of what I'm most looking forward to in ascending order, I would say number 3, Daredevil Born Again. Like the only thing that gives me pause about that, it's not the characters, it's not the creative team, it's not the actors. It is just the length of the show. And one of the things that we talked about earlier, Brent, the Marvel Disney shows have had an issue with is pacing at times, but also solid finales, solid conclusions. And I don't know if the amount of episodes that they've announced for Born Again is going to help that problem or exacerbate that problem. So that's the only reason it's that low on my list, but it's still top 3. Number 2 would be Thunderbolts. Like Thunderbolts is intriguing to me because, again, it's a team like outside of Bucky and Bucky, Yelena, and Red Guardian. I'm not looking for any of these other people like John Walker on these streets or Ghost. Even though I liked Ghost, but like she ain't like somebody like, hey Nate, who do you want to see a movie about right now? Like, it's gonna be about 15 minutes before I get to Ghost, and about 15 hours before I get to the damn Taskmaster. Because the less said about that Black Widow movie they tried to throw on us, Brittany, the better. Because Yelena was about, and the family was about the only good part of Black Widow. But I am intrigued to see kind of what they do with this, like their version of Suicide Squad. But then number one for me, come on now. I was already here for Sam Wilson on these streets, Sprint Chittenden. But then you tell me, in addition to that, we add in the aforementioned Giancarlo Esposito. In addition to that, we got my boy Joaquin Torres putting on the wings. In addition to that, Isaiah Bradley is back. And in addition to all of that, Han Solo, Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, a.k.a. the Red Hulk. I am, like I said, it's a nervous feeling, Brittany. Like, I'm optimistic. It's much like whenever the Braves make it to the World Series, Brent, or the Falcons, like the one or two times in my lifetime that they've made it to the Super Bowl. It's that mix of I'm super excited for it, but I'm also like, this could go horribly wrong. This is a movie, again, that had a lot of reshoots, had some retooling done. There was a whole Serpent Society story with Seth Rollins from the WWE that seems to have been excised from the movie. But I am so excited for this film, man. Marvel ain't slick putting it in February. Like, we know what you're trying to do, Feige. But I'm cautiously optimistic for it, man. Because like I said, Britt, I really enjoyed Falcon and the Winter Soldier despite some of its flaws. And it's like, yeah, man, I'm hoping that this is the movie, and I'm hoping that Anthony Mackie kind of meets the moment, and the film around him does not disappoint him, because I think he's been good as Sam Wilson all these years in this universe, and I want to see him win. I want to see him win.
And Tim Blake Nelson as the leader.
Yes, the leader is back. Come on. They finally get back around to the damn Celestial that's been poking out of the earth
just
since
floating
the end
around.
of Eternals. We finally get back to that. So, like, the only thing, again, that I hope does not hurt this film is the one character who may or may not be necessary to this, and that people are going to protest. And I'm hoping that her inclusion is, if
That's
not
kind of
necessary.
why I'm not excited for the movie.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm hoping if it's not necessary, that at least it's minimal. Because here's the thing that's going to happen. If this movie does not do well, in part because of that, it's not going to reflect on that character, because that's a minor character. People are going to be out here talking about, oh, I guess Sam Wilson can't lead a movie. I guess nobody wants to watch a Black Captain America, because that's what they're going to say, Brittany.
I know that's what they're gonna say, which frustrates me because I just don't want to support a movie with that character. That's like, I feel like I've said a lot on as a whole upon this network and tweeting about how I feel about that character and what it represents and what is going on in the world, that I just and I know it's hard to like completely live ethically in this capitalistic society, but I feel like if that's the one, I don't know, it's hard. I don't know if I want to pay to see that movie, because I have very mixed feelings about it. So it's I feel like they're purposely doing Sam dirty in a way. That's how it felt to me when they announced that character, and knowing the political state of the world, it's just like, it feels like they're purposely trying to have reasons for why Sam Wilson doesn't work as Captain America. And that's what I think is frustrating about it.
I had completely forgotten that character was in that movie. Because they've definitely sort of kept quiet about it, I guess, since the big rumblings once it was discovered, the character and what that character kind of represents and how that would be portrayed in our current world. I was looking it up on Wikipedia. It looks like they've changed the background of it a little bit. So now she, according to Wikipedia, she's an Israeli former Black Widow. So not directly working with the Israeli government, I guess. So it's not saying it's good, but it sounds like they're doing a little bit of covering their asses.
Yeah. And my whole thing is, Brent and Brittany, like, I feel like this, and again, we don't know the story. Like, we don't know her role in this story. Like, it may be an integral part of the story, or she might just be like somebody from the comics we want to pull in, because that's another IP that we can eventually cash in down the road.
Yeah, they could have done Jessica Drew Spider-Woman.
Yes, they could have done that.
With her background, like, she has such a polarizing background where she originally started off with Hydra and did some not so great stuff. So it's like they could have pulled her. So it just feels like they already heard people talking about how they're not happy with, especially with our, what's going on. So I just feel like they were doubling down on like making it harder for this, movie to do well. And it's like, I don't know. It's hard to be optimistic about this. I'm trying, but like, because I think it's great that we're gonna see, Harrison Ford,
Yes.
and like I'm really excited to see Joaquin Torres, and obviously Sam. And I'm sad that Bucky's not gonna be around, or if he is in it, it's gonna be like a really, really, really small part.
I feel like we're gonna get a Bucky mid-credit or post-credit scene.
Yeah, something to lead into Thunderbolts.
Yeah. So it's like there's things about it that I'm excited for, but at the same time, I'm just like, but then again, because I do this podcast, I know I have to see the movie. So I'm already like, I know I have to like go see it. So
I think we're twisting your arm.
Yeah. But like, I mean, I do love talking about film in general. So it's kind of just like, I gotta do it.
And the trailers for it, the 2 trailers that have been released so far that I've seen, I'm digging the vibes. Like, it's Winter Soldier-ish, Brent, where it feels like they're kind of getting back to as grounded as you can be in this universe. Like, they're back to the political espionage. They're back to kind of more grounded storytelling. And again, like, I don't know if this movie is going to be good. I hope that it'll be good. Like, I have faith in the actors. If it is not good, I feel like it will not be their fault. But I'm hoping it'll be good, because again, like, and it sucks that this has to be discussion every time we have a movie that is led by a person of color, or led by a woman, or led by somebody from the LGBTQ community, or led by somebody like Alako Cox, who was not only Native American but was also deaf. Like, it feels like if those movies don't do well, Brent, and there's a lot of reasons why movies don't do well. We just talked about the damn Red One that ain't made no money.
Yeah.
But like, that is not going to significantly hurt the careers of anybody in that film. Whereas with these superhero genre things, like with Marvel in particular, I feel like if this movie doesn't hit, like, Sam's still going to be all right. Anthony Mackie's still going to cut the check. They're going to cut the check for him. But he's not ever getting a Cap 5 if this movie doesn't hit.
It's a shame, because like the metrics are like, the goalposts are always moved, right? Is like, if it was a white actor, it's like, oh well, that was a bomb. When it's a person of color, or
not to disparage our good brother Chris Hemsworth, my man had 4 Thor movies, Brent, and I would argue 2 of them are good.
Yes, okay, I'd agree with.
I agree. I don't know if we agree on the same 2, but I'd be curious.
Before we get to you wrap up your point, Brent, I'm saying Ragnarok is good, and I am saying Thor 1 is good.
Okay, those are my 2.
Yeah, same.
Okay, we're all on the same page on this. Go ahead, Brent.
So, like, the sad part is white actor, it'll be like, it would be just listed, well, that's a bomb. If it's a person of color or LGBTQ, it's the argument is like, well, those people don't see our movies, which isn't the case. It's maybe you just made a crappy movie. But it's those standards are, and they don't look at, it's really weird. They don't look at the stuff that they've done. And it's like that Simpsons line going back to then. No, it's obviously the kid's fault. Like, it's not our fault. We didn't do anything wrong. But yeah, that I am hoping it's a Winter Soldier movie. I really am, like that style and that context, because that's my favorite MCU movie. Like, I've been crowing about since it basically came out. So I'm hoping that we get more of that and less of Maybe the TV show. Although I did like the show. So
yeah, I thought the show again, like that's something that Brittany and I were talking about before you hopped on, Brent. Like we were talking about kind of the ups and downs of Disney Marvel. And it's like, yeah, like I can objectively see the flaws in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
But the parts that needed to work for the show to work, I think when you talk about Sam's journey and the relationship between Sam and Bucky, and also how the world views a Black Captain America, like I think on those 3 points, the shows did well. They faltered on like the villain stuff. They faltered on like the pacing, and in the finale, again, I think that's a common problem with a lot of these Disney Plus shows. But I think the things they needed to get right for the show to work, I think they did.
And again, that might be the victim of reshoots as well.
Yeah,
like we know
that was a show that was like snake bitten, like not only pandemic stuff, but I think there were like earthquakes in some of the places that they were filming that had to readjust. So
yeah, the pandemic is really what changed it, not only in terms of shooting, but like there was a whole like virus storyline apparently that was like cut out of the whole thing. Yeah. So who knows if that would have made it better or more interesting, but maybe like these edits and reshoots affected like the overall structure of the show.
That's right, because that was supposed to be what Mama Danya had passed from, was whatever this worldwide virus was, and then it got a little too real because we were dealing with a worldwide virus. But so that's our discussion about Cap 4. Thunderbolts, you have not seen any of the trailers yet, have you, Brittany?
So when I did Glicked, is that how you say it? Gladiator 2 and Wicked on the same day.
Okay.
I did it. I survived. Just like Barbenheimer. I know there's some people who are like, I did it, but then they did it on separate days. No, I did it in the same day for both. But I think it was the Wicked movie that the Thunderbolts trailer was before, and I was like, God damn it, we were supposed to do
we were supposed to do a live reaction to it
without me seeing it. And I had went that long without seeing any of the Thunderbolts trailers, whatever. I was avoiding it on Twitter. Anytime it would pop up, I would like scroll past it. I was like, no, I'm waiting for when me and Nate can do like a live reaction to me finally watching it. And it was Wicked that did it. So, but it looks great. I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be fun. I'm probably one of the few people who like my favorite thing from Ant-Man 2 was Ghost. So I'm like, yeah, she's back. So I'm excited for that. Obviously, Yelena, that's like everyone's favorite. So of course I'm excited to see her. And I always love David Arbor. So that's going to be fun.
The trailer they showed ahead of Wicked, Cap, was that the one where it starts with Yelena like knocking on Alexi's door? And he's like, I'm going to report you to DoorDash for being insubordinate.
Oh no, I don't. I don't think it starts off with that. I think it's probably the more newer one that's like been out now. Because if it did start off with the DoorDash thing, I don't remember.
Because I think the DoorDash was the one that they dropped right after Comic-Con.
Okay.
So yeah, it might be a new trailer, but hopefully they'll have like a final trailer and we can live react to that one.
What's his name is in it? They make jokes about him being a knockoff Captain America.
John Walker.
Yeah. Yep.
Your boy Wyatt Russell on these streets.
I love Wyatt Russell, but not a fan of John Walker.
I think that it looks fun. It looks fun. And I think that
it does look a lot of fun.
One of the things that I've always kind of dug about these films, Brent, is you can have different tones in different films, and it still feel like a part of the same universe. So I'm excited for Thunderbolts, man. Like I think, again, like going off of Falcon and Winter Soldier, like I want to see Sam's story in Cap 4, and I want to see the growth of Bucky in Thunderbolts, where he's now kind of like, yeah, you might have been a brainwashed terrorist, but you went through therapy and you had a terrible therapist for anybody that watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, but you got through it, and now you have to lead this group of people that have their own issues that are all screwed up in some way, and you're the grown-up now, Bucky. And so I kind of like that dynamic.
I'm really curious about how they're using Sentry in that movie. Because for your viewers who may not be aware, the guy named Bob is a character in the Marvel universe known as the Sentry. He's basically like Marvel Superman, like super strong, can fly, all that sort of stuff. But he also, like, whenever he's around, there's the like dark side version of him also comes out, the Void. So I'm very curious how they're treating all of that.
I thought it was
Or
Hydra Bob. I thought, it's Hydra Bob.
I'm sorry if I ruined that plot point for you.
Spoiler alert, Brent. Come on.
That's crazy. I really thought it was going to be a Hydra Bob like thing, and I was like, yeah, okay, that'll be fun.
Yeah, originally it was also what's his name, Steve Yeun from Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And just that they had to push it back so far that scheduling difficulties popped up for him, so he had to drop out. But overall, it looks like a lot of fun, which is I think that's what the MCU kind of needs for a while. Like Deadpool and Wolverine sort of proved that point in a lot of ways. The thing that I'm curious about, and this goes for the recent Superman trailer and a couple other things. I feel that some of these movie companies are learning that maybe we shouldn't give away everything in the first couple of trailers. Because, like, I have no idea who the bad guys are in that movie. Like, none. So,
that's another reason why I'm kind of going back to Brave New World, Britt. That's another reason why I'm kind of cautiously optimistic. Because if they gave us Red Hulk already, like if they gave us Harrison Ford on these streets already, like that tells me, like, hopefully there's something else in this movie that I'm going to be like, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming.
We'll see.
Woman, like
Brittany always pushing her Jessica Drew agenda.
Yeah, which, hey, not Jessica Drew, but in a fan project, I am voicing Captain Monica Rambeau. So,
nice.
Yeah. So that's my little getting close to being in the MCU. But they probably have seen my opinions and they're like, no, we're not casting her because she's gonna say what shit.
You'll be one of those variants that end up in the void with Cassandra Nova.
Don't give up. Look at Wesley Snipes in Deadpool Wolverine.
Hey.
Like that. Maybe we'll get into this if we're talking predictions after this. But I feel very much that
he's coming back.
Him as Blade in something.
If
not a full-out Blade movie.
He's coming back. I think because of the footfalls with this production of Blade, he's gonna come.
Film.
Yeah, I think that Wesley is most likely coming back for something longer than Deadpool. So that's what I think.
That was just a cool cameo going back to Wesley and that Brit, because again, one of my favorite movies of all time in this genre, which again, something can be objectively not good and you can still love it, Brittany. So you could tell me I'm wrong for liking this movie, but again, feelings can't be wrong, Cap. Blade Trinity is a bad movie, but it's the way I would describe it is if Hollywood had a focus meeting and they said Nate Milton is the most important consumer in the world. Let's engineer a film that he will love and everybody else will too. So we got a superhero flick. We've got a superhero flick led by a black man, the legendary Wesley Snipes. We've got comedy with Ryan Reynolds. We've got action. We've got a wrestler in this movie in Triple H, Paul Levesque. We've got Nate's favorite quirky indie actress, Parker Posey, in this movie. We've got Patton Oswalt for some comedic relief. We've got not Jennifer Garner. We've got Jessica Alba. No.
I've never seen this movie.
Who's the girl in that one, Brent?
No, not Jessica Alba. What's her face? Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel. We got Jessica Biel in this joint. Like all of these ingredients that should appeal to me. But when they served it to me, Brent, I was like, I don't like this. Like I like it, but I don't like it's not good.
I'm very curious that for me is that new Tron movie, Tron Ares, that's coming out. It is very much like that. It is other than
they getting checks.
Yeah, other than Jared Leto, like it's like we're giving you a Tron movie with Evan Peters in it. Ooh, and
Evan Peters in it?
Ooh, Gillian Anderson's also in it.
Yes.
Ooh, Jeff Bridges. Oh, I'm in. And the soundtrack's being done by 9 Inch Nails, your favorite band, Brent. Are you going to go see this? Yes, I'm going to be seeing it opening day. Possibly the first showing I can go see.
What happened to Garrett?
Pardon?
Wasn't Garrett in the original? or the one from '05 or
Garrett
whatever
Hedlund?
year that
Yeah,
was.
he was in Legacy, which I also do like, but a
I
lot of
love
people
Garrett
don't.
Hedlund. He's also another good Gambit potential, in my
Wasn't he in
opinion.
Four Brothers?
Yes,
I love Four Brothers.
that movie is amazing. I feel like
Four
every black
Brothers.
person I know loves that movie.
Yes, Victor Sweets, one of the all-time great movie villains.
Yes.
In Four Brothers.
Ejiofor.
Yep, Chiwetel Ejiofor and Terrence Howard. So there's a Marvel connection here. With the brothers, we have Mordo and my roadie, forever my roadie in Four Brothers.
And you got Mark Wahlberg.
And we got Mark Wahlberg and Andre 3000. So
Yeah.
and Tyrese. So we got a crossover with the Fast and Furious. It's a wonderful film, ladies and gentlemen. But I feel like with Blade Trinity, the hard feelings between Wesley Snipes and Ryan Reynolds, because Wesley thought that they were trying to steal his franchise from him.
Yeah.
Give it to Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel. And so there was friction on the set. So to see like things kind of come around full circle and him and Ryan Reynolds actually getting along and Ryan Reynolds bringing him back to this movie, like it just made me so happy to see. And so, yeah, I could see Wesley definitely returning as Blade. Does that mean a full movie? Does that mean a TV series? Like, I don't know, but I definitely think like a Blade TV series might hit like gangbusters.
He's the one.
But it just depends on what they want to do with it. Any other thoughts on the slate for 2025 before we get into predictions?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm kind of excited about this stuff again.
It's a lot though, Brett. Like they went from giving us like little bits and pieces this year to everything next year.
Yeah, and for like people like us who do these types of shows, not only do we have to contend with that, it's also all the DC stuff too. That is,
yeah. I'm gonna be real. I'm actually really excited for Superman, and like I'm one of the people who've never really liked Superman since I was a kid. I've always been like, fuck Superman. I don't know if we can say. Oh, sorry. I'm not super into him. I don't know. Sorry. He never hit for me the way like Batman hit for me. Maybe because I'm just sad and
emo
at heart. Emo at heart. So like Superman never hit. I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, I actually really like what I see in like the trailer, the teaser trailer. I'm gonna probably try not to watch more than the teaser trailer because that teaser trailer got me hooked. Even my dad is like, "Hey, that looks fun." My dad is kind of hit and miss more now with like the superhero movies. So I'm really excited. I've liked almost everything I've seen James Gunn do. I know
have you
some
started
people like
Creature Commandos yet?
I haven't looked at that.
It looks fun. I haven't started it either, but it looks fun.
I'm getting to it hopefully this week.
Okay.
Wait, it's already out?
Yeah.
The first 3 episodes, 4 episodes, something like that.
I thought it was just trailer. I'm still watching Penguin because me and my little brother made the wrong choice and decided to watch with my aunt. So, and she's not. Well, okay, because she likes gangster and like mob stuff. So she saw that and she's like, "Oh, have you seen that trailer for that new like mobster show that Colin Farrell's doing?" And I was just like, the Penguin? And like, yeah, that looks good. And I was like, but you haven't seen the Batman. And she was like, what? I was just like, oh. So then we had a day where me and my brother watched it with her. And her point of reference for Batman is only Adam West.
Oh, so 66.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
you didn't even see 89 with Keaton.
So she's not like, she knows that there's other versions of Batman, but she kind of assumes that all Batman is like campy. So when we watched, the most like dreary of them, you would say, like, she was just like, this is nothing like 86. She's like, this is so depressing.
That is wild. Going from Adam West to Robert Pattinson.
Yeah. But she ended up liking the movie, and now we're watching the show, and she's loving the show. So we're only on like episode 4 or 5. So I don't know when I'm gonna finish the Penguin. But yeah.
I'm excited for Superman. Like, to be fair to the actors, like I think all of the Superman actors have been well cast.
Yes.
In terms of obviously Christopher Reeve, the OG. But then when you look at Brandon Routh, like I thought Brandon Routh was a good Superman in a bad Superman movie. Henry Cavill, like I thought Henry Cavill was a good Superman in some mid Superman movies. Even like the TV Superman, like Tom Welling was good. Your boy that we don't speak about anymore because he went super mega. He was good in his show at the time.
I used to love that show. That was
a
I think, the
fun
only
show.
Superman thing I liked when I was a kid was that.
That was a fun show.
'Cause I hated the animated Superman show.
What?
What?
I was just gonna say, like the Justice League Superman, he was good. Tim
I-
Daly, George Newbern, you
I
ain't
feel
like him, Britt?
Maybe now I would like it, but me as a kid was like, "Oh, this isn't Batman," and I
We
was
gotta do
not
a Justice
watching
League
that.
rewatch. We gotta do a
All of
Daily
those
rewatch.
DC animated shows, the three, the Batman,
like-
the Superman, and Justice League are just
I like
awesome.
the other ones. I just did not like the Superman. The ad.
You
Like
didn't
I
like
said,
his solo show?
I was very anti-Superman as a
Wow,
kid.
the agenda is real. Like, so here's the thing. I don't think the issue has ever been with the actors.
Mm.
I think the issue has been with what surrounds them.
Mhm.
Because and people are like, oh, you can't do a Superman in these modern times. People are too cynical, whatever. I would argue, Brent, that we have had the best on-screen portrayal of a Superman-like figure in Marvel, and that is Chris Evans as Captain America.
Captain America. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the values that Steve Rogers has, like that's all the Superman stuff. And they found a way to keep him true to his ideals, but also not feel out of place. And even when he does feel out of place, it's like that fits because that's who that guy is.
Yeah,
And
it's
they've never been able to
intentional,
do
and
that on screen, I think, with the Warner Brothers movies.
So it's interesting you bring that up. There's a critic that I like on YouTube called Movie Bob. He does a show called The Big Picture.
Is that
And
Hydra Bob's movie channel?
No. He has a theory though that because I seem to think he might be wrong, but I thought it was pretty good. Is that in this new DC universe, superheroes are old hat and people have become very cynical about them.
Mhm.
And actually Superman is the new kid on the block. Like the Lanterns and all these other characters have been kicking around for a while, but Superman is like a fairly recent addition. And it's the idea is it like what you were saying is he kind of gives hope to a cynical world. And that I really like that positioning, and it's doing something a little new with Superman when you kind of reverse that position. But I've been on record that the original Christopher Reeve Superman movie, the first one and most of the second one are like part of my favorite movies of all time. So I am predisposed to like
no love for Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
Oh, that's
so bad.
It's I heard How Did This Get Made, the movie podcast?
Yes, I love that show.
They did that, but they had John Cryer on it. And he's
John
in
Cryer.
that movie and he explains like a whole whack of what went wrong.
Is that a recent episode?
No, this goes back like 5-6 years ago.
I missed that one.
I think he may have still been doing 2.5 Men at that point.
Okay, I gotta
And
check that.
wasn't on Supergirl yet.
Supergirl Luther.
Yeah, I wasn't on Supergirl yet. So no love for that movie at all. But what were we talking about originally?
We took a
We
little.
were
tangent
talking
to
about our
Disneyland.
predictions for
Right.
for
the
Marvel. I think,
for this year.
Yes.
but I think we got so sidetracked by
Brittany
Superman.
Took
Sorry.
a side trip to Metropolis for a second, but
I-
the trailer
well-
does look good.
I think I needed to talk about it just because I just watched the trailer finally, last night
Mhm.
before I dived into watching the finale of What We Do in the Shadows.
And I
But-
think James Gunn is like, and this is not to shade any other former Superman directors, but I feel like James Gunn, he's feeling himself coming off of the Guardians, like a
Guardians was hot.
trilogy of like not even C-listers, like these are D-listers that he
Maybe
made,
even F-listers.
maybe even F-listers, yes, that he made box office and actually made us care about those characters. Like coming off of that and being handed the keys to the kingdom at DC,
And Peacemaker hit.
Peacemaker hit.
I loved his Suicide Squad
Suicide
movie.
Squad. Like I think James Gunn, he's like, this is like the story I want to tell because James Gunn is at his core, he's like somebody that likes the relationships in these characters and the heart. And so like there's a reason. Like we getting crypto in this movie. Ain't nobody else had the stones to bring the super dog to the show except for that DC Super Pets movie. Which was the
Guy
one,
Gardner
like,
has a stupid haircut.
Guy Gardner, Nathan Fillion has the stupid bowl
Stupid
cut.
haircut.
Like
He
we're
looks
getting
like Uncle
we're getting
Fester.
Metamorpho. Like don't nobody give a damn about Metamorpho. We're getting Metamorpho in a live action movie.
Yep.
So James Gunn,
also-
we're hoping,
Yeah.
we're rooting for you.
I want to say whoever he hired as the costume and hair people, I want to say that I feel like they're already like it already looks like it's great just because of the costuming on Clark and Superman and the hairstyling. Like it's all great. Like the suit he has on is way too big for him, and like it's just so. I feel like it's already so great with the storytelling in that little teaser, not to like hype up the other company when we're supposed to be talking about Marvel.
I mean, you can like both, Brittany. You should like both when they give you a reason to like both.
Exactly. No, I agree.
Superman coming out next year. Check it out, folks. But speaking of next year, 2025, like we talked about the slate of projects coming out. But any predictions for what is to come? Let's start with you, Brent.
Like in the future, like outside of next year kind of thing?
Yeah, like anything regarding those films that you think might be big news coming out of them and going forward.
We're going to see the groundwork laid in for Doom's arrival. They're like, this is the big thing there. And in corporate synergy, like in the comics next year, there is a huge Doom storyline that's going to be running through all the Marvel books. So we're definitely going to be seeing parts of that. I think at some point we're going to start getting more mutant teases. We've gotten one in Ms. Marvel and also through Deadpool and Wolverine. But there's going to be something a little bit more overt, and I don't know what that is yet. Maybe it's like Xavier shows up, whoever it is they end up casting for him. That would be the way I would go, because he's the oldest character, so it's, you know, you can set the stage that he's one of the first mutants and has been kicking around for a while. Beyond that, as we sort of talked about earlier, it has been my theory for a while that unfortunately Mahershala Ali's Blade movie is going to disappear. I think he's going to get paid off and walk away because it's already taking too long. But the other side of this is I think we get the Blade movie that we were supposed to get probably, I want to say it was like 10 years ago, maybe 15, where they were introducing Blade's daughter into it. That like it, but so I have no concrete proof of a lot of this. I just have a lot of hearsay from people I know in comics and other things. The one thing that I know that is positive is at one point about 10 years ago, there was a Blade comic solicited that had Blade's daughter in it. That character does show up like much, much later, but it was on the schedule. It was ready to go. And then it quietly was removed from all of it. And this is way before COVID or anything like that where you can blame it on. My theory has always been, because at that same time, Wesley Snipes had been talking up Blade again, is that they were in talks to do a movie and that deal fell apart. That he either asked for too much money or too much creative control or something with it, and it just fell apart. And that's why they just held off and reintroduced that his daughter later. Now, like with these like obvious love and respect that he got from his cameo, well, cameo is not even the right word, appearance in Deadpool Wolverine, that has shown the guys who own Blade that like maybe we should give him another shot, or at least this is plan B. If Mahershala Ali walks out this year, don't be surprised about like at Comic-Con if they announce Wesley Snipes is taking it over, thus rendering another part of Eternals completely null and void.
Yes.
This poor movie.
So those are my big ones.
I mean, the man said it himself, Brittany Monet. There's only one Blade.
Yeah,
he only ever will be.
Yeah, I do think that there's a higher chance that your theory of it being Wesley coming back and then finding someone to play his daughter. I think that's very possible. Yeah, I feel like it's more of a wish than like a prediction because I don't think it's in the writing for it. But I'm wishing to get another Captain Marvel movie because I think Brie Larson as Captain Marvel has been one of the best casting choices. And I don't know, I want to see more of her besides like an Avenger movie. So I'm hoping to get some more of Brie Larson. I don't know. I think that maybe Daredevil might end up being the best thing that comes out from Marvel in 2025, though. I think that's where I'm at with my predictions, which is, yeah.
Okay. I think we're going to get some pretty big things to come out in 2025 and beyond. The first thing is, yes, I'll agree with everybody and say that, unfortunately, Mahershala's Blade, it's over.
Yeah, and it's not like a judgment on him playing that character.
No,
I think like out of all the modern actor choices, he's probably the best for multiple reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that like that project is moving too slow, too sluggish for a guy that talented to stick around this much longer.
Domingo actually might be another potentially good Blade.
Who?
Is that his name? Cole Domingo?
I'm not sure who that is, to be honest with you.
He's in he's the one who just did the Actors on Actors with Kieran Culkin. He's also like if you ever seen the movie, was it Zora? He plays like the like pimp kind of guy. He's really good at playing like really like nasty bad people, but I can also see something really smooth and cool like Blade.
Yeah, he could be a good one. Like I think.
That guy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just googled him.
Yeah.
The Blade's daughter idea is a good one because I do feel like yes, even though there's only one Blade and there only ever will be, Wesley Snipes' time on this earth is not infinite. And so we have to get a succession plan in order. So I think we're going to see that. In terms of our Avengers, like again, something that I'm looking forward to come out of Cap 4 is we know from the trailers that Ross wants Sam to build a team of Avengers. And I think that will happen, but not for Ross. Like Sam will be kind of finding, like, of course we're gonna have some of the OGs come back. But he gonna call up Shang-Chi. Like, what's going on, Sean? What you doing, my boy? So like the process of Sam maybe kind of stepping into the Nick Fury role in Phase 1, where he's the one bringing everybody together. Like, just give me all the Anthony Mackie mid-credit scenes, like Sam just posting up, just what's going on, man? What's going on, Logan? I see you out here, Hugh Jackman. You trying to roll with us? Like, seeing how we get to this new group of Avengers is going to be fun. I think that's going to be something that we need to look forward to. Also, another prediction. We talked about Daredevil being something we're all excited for. I'm going to go out here and say it right now. At some point in that show's run, we're going to see at least 2 Defenders pop up in that show.
I definitely
Kristen's been dropping the breadcrumbs, but to me, Mike Colt's back on these streets.
I think Mike is, because there was a day when they were both at like Marvel Studios and posted it on their like Instagrams, and I'm like, obviously they're coming back. Why else will you post that you're both at the same time?
There's a tour.
Both of you. There's a tour, but I think they're definitely doing something. If Marvel cares about what I think, please recast Iron Fist. I'm sorry.
I think we're gonna get a new Iron Fist.
He died, didn't he, at the end of that show?
I didn't watch it the second season because I was so upset. Season 1 hurt my soul.
And I think they've already kind of laid the groundwork for that, because in the comics there is a different Iron Fist than Danny. And he's also the Iron Fist that's represented in the new Marvel Rivals game. Like, it's not the Danny Rand Iron Fist in the game. It's I can't remember the character's name, but he's an Asian gentleman.
Yeah, so he's got like in the game. Does he have like the broken shards of the magical sword in his arms? Okay, yeah, same guy.
Okay, so yeah, like because he used to be Swordmaster, not the Swordmaster from Hawkeye. It's comics. It gets confusing, folks. But yeah, like he was. I think he might have even been in the Agents of Atlas comic run where it's like the Asian heroes. Like they had the super team. With
I'm
Shang
trying to
Chi.
remember. I haven't read that run in so long. That was a good book too.
Yeah. So I think like they are laying the groundwork for a Iron Fist that is not Danny Rand, at least in the immediate
My thing
future.
is, in the comics, I actually do like Danny Rand.
Yes, it's not an issue with Danny Rand. It's Finn Jones.
It's Finn Jones, and I just at first I was very excited, and like, hey, this is gonna be great. And then when I saw the show, I was like,
When
and
my
I
boy
just
showed
finished
up
Dexter.
on the set. When my
I
boy
just
showed
finished
up, it was like,
Dexter,
hey,
and
do I actually
Scott
have to learn?
Buck is a menace.
When Finn was like, do I actually have to learn martial arts for this role? Because I'm just gonna show up and act.
It was terrible.
Insane.
It was obvious by second season somebody had pulled him aside and given him some lessons, but he still wasn't great.
The only thing of Danny Rand in that whole series that I enjoyed was the bits with him and Luke. Like that actually kind of worked for me. Everything else was just kind of like
the chemistry between those two actors was really good. But yeah, I can do with recasting.
Yes, we all could. Here's a wild theory that I'm just going to throw out there that may or may not happen, but I want it to happen. Brittany Monet has a Jessica Drew agenda. I have an agenda for two characters in particular, Brent Chittenden.
Okay.
That don't get the justice they deserve. And I'm talking about Tandy and Tyrone, Cloak and Dagger. We need Cloak and Dagger in the MCU. There's a way for it to happen. And I'm going to say, bring back Aubrey Joseph and Olivia Holt because they're still young enough to play those characters. And they were good in that show on Freeform that was made for like $20 and a scratch-off ticket. Yeah. Bring back Cloak and Dagger, Feige.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing with the split between the studio and the TV and the movie side is there's like a bunch of unfortunate like casualties in that, and that those guys are them. I liked like what they were doing on Runaways before that show got capped. Like it wasn't amazing, but like it had potential. Yeah, especially like when one of the characters has a pet dinosaur, that's just great.
That's cool. And I
did
feel
get
like
a crossover too with Cloak and Dagger and Runaways. That was fun.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, they had a crossover episode, which was really
I guess I didn't get that far into either of the shows.
It's not in Cloak and Dagger. It's in Runaways, like the last season of Runaways. I want to say.
I think that's where I fell off of Runaways was the last season
because they had left Cloak and Dagger. Spoiler alert for this show from like 5 years ago on Freeform. Like they left off Cloak and Dagger season 2 with Tyrone and Tandy getting on a bus. Like we done all we can in New Orleans. Let's go see what adventure lies ahead because they wanted to leave it open ended in case they came back for season 3. And they ended up in California with the Runaways for like one of the late season episodes of the last season, and it was actually a pretty good episode.
Yeah, the sad part for me, I love Runaways, the comic book series, like the original run of it is really good. But the thing that I'm sort of sad about is because that show is now like non grata, we don't get a scene where Molly, the little girl who has super strength, punching the Punisher like in the gut and just doubling him over. Like, you could have killed him. Well, I thought he was a superpowered bad guy. Well, what kind of powers does he have? Punishing powers? Just it was one of those scenes that I've always hoped to see in live action, but I don't think I'm going to get it.
Oh,
but the fact that you said that, like Marvel can get crazy. Marvel can get nuts. Like in this next phase, particularly when we're leading up to those Avengers movies. We might see live action Squirrel Girl on these streets, Brittany.
Yeah, the actress who I think isn't she voicing her in the game or something?
She's voiced her like on and off like for the last 10 years, basically. Like since that pilot didn't happen. Yeah. Like or didn't get released. There was a on Spotify, there's a Squirrel Girl like radio play. That she does the voice of her there. She's been Squirrel Girl in like a couple of the Spider-Man. Like they liked her enough to keep her around. So it wouldn't surprise me if they make a live action. She is the one playing Squirrel Girl for it.
Yeah, I can see her definitely getting her shine in the live action version. I don't know. I'm one of the people who really like loved Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. all the way through. So I'm just hoping that there's some justice for some of those characters, especially for Gabriel Luna, who was so good as a Ghost Rider. Like, gosh, bring him back. And I think, again, Anton Fuqua would be the perfect person to direct an R-rated Ghost Rider with that particular version of Ghost Rider. I want to see that. I wrote an article about it years ago, and Gabriel Luna actually like read it and was like, "Oh my god, thank you." So I need that to come to fruition, but who knows?
I'm sorry, I was listening, Brittany, but I was also getting a text from work that's like, "Hey, hope you're enjoying your PTO. We got the new schedule out. Get behind me, Satan."
That's crazy.
I'll deal with you next week. But I think that's going to kind of be the interesting thing about Marvel right now, because it's almost like Schrodinger's franchise, Britt. Like, there's some people out here that's trying to tell you Marvel is dead. Marvel ain't got the juice no more. But we just spent 90 minutes talking about the possibilities. Like, there's so many great stories yet to be told, so many great characters. And we'll see, like, again, like going back to Cap 4. Like, I think and I feel like I made this happen. Like, it's all my fault that the world is going to be in the shape it's in, Brent, because there's a podcast called, it's like Random Tea, but Random Tea, two women, I think they're in like Mississippi or Alabama, that host a Marvel show. And it was one of the first Marvel shows I heard on the podcast. And so, like, this is back, I'd be emailing these shows, Brittany, back in the day.
Yep.
I would email them my feedback. And this was after Endgame. I emailed them and I was like, listing off my favorite things about Endgame. And I was like, one of my favorite things about Endgame is we're getting a black Captain America. And I was like, isn't it crazy? Because this was when Trump was still in office. I was like, because I was like, I don't know what's going to happen the next 4 years, because we hadn't had the election yet where Biden won. And I also didn't know it would take us this damn long to get Cap 4, Brent Chittenden. But I was like, it's going to be crazy if we're in a world where Donald Trump is president and we have a black man holding up the symbol of America in this universe. And that was just an offhanded comment I made in the email damn near 10 years ago, Brittany Monet. And look where we are now. Sam Wilson will be holding the shield in February while Donald Trump is back in office. I'm sorry, America. I wanted one of those things to be true, and unfortunately, both of those things are true.
Yep.
But before we get out of here, any final thoughts on Marvel, like the state of Marvel, like what you've been enjoying, Brent and Brittany? Before we get out of here, any last thoughts on this cinematic universe before we close the year out for the Avengers Initiative?
People should give Agatha All Along a chance if they haven't watched it. It's very enjoyable. It's a lot of fun. It's well written. You can almost go into it without having seen any of the other Marvel stuff, which is kind of nice. Like you don't have to have watched everything else. WandaVision, I would definitely watch before watching it, but even that. Yeah. I don't know if it's like entirely necessary due to how they like flash back to it. Beyond that, now this is completely self-serving because I work in a comic shop. If you like the TV shows and movies that you've been watching, come in and check out the books. There's a lot of good stuff right now. In particular, Avengers written by Jed McKay is really good. The Amazing Spider-Man's really good right now. All of these things, and like if you want to get like glimpses into what they're doing in the future, it's a good place to start. So
okay,
and if you want to start in Barrie, Ontario, Big B Comics, 45 minutes the road, come down and see me. plug. Yes.
Brittany and I will not be making our way there, but
it's a little bit of a drive.
Can we order online, Brent?
You can. We do have a website, and you can. It's bigbbarry.com. It's got all our wall books. So if you have slightly more expensive tastes, that's definitely a place to go.
Okay.
I've got a Daredevil 1 up there right now for people who like Daredevil, amongst other things.
Okay. Speaking of a person that has a book addiction, Brittany Monet, Like she's laughing, Brent, but there's like, if you pan her camera, there's like 25 Star Wars books that ain't been read yet. That's just sitting there looking at her. Like, why did you buy us, ma'am, if you're not going to utilize us?
Actually, I think that's my Percy Jackson books that I haven't read yet that I kind of showed.
Percy Jackson.
But yeah, I'm very behind on reading, especially in comics. The last thing I was trying to read, which I fell off on, was the Spider-Woman series after she had the baby.
Okay.
So I'm like very behind. Yeah, I'm so behind. It's insane. But yeah, what were we talking about? Hopeful about Marvel?
Any final thoughts on the state of the MCU?
Yeah, I agree that definitely check out Agatha if you have not watched it. It was so much fun. I enjoyed it deeply. Yeah, I don't know. Even though I kind of said some like negative and sad, I think it's because I feel like Marvel was at one point, like we all knew, was doing so well. Mm-hmm. So it's very disappointing to see it like come to where it is. So I'm hoping that they can redeem themselves. And I hope that they prove me wrong about, you know, the RDJ stuff and all of that. Mm-hmm. Prove me wrong. I want them to prove me wrong. Like, I want to make that very clear.
You're wrong, Brittany Monet.
Prove me wrong.
You're wrong about me coming back. It's not just for the money. Yeah.
Give me another Tropic Thunder.
My limited RDJ impression is back.
But yeah, I really want them to prove me wrong. I want to be like, you know what? They were right with casting Pedro Pascal. Like, I want to come back and say that, like, I was wrong. Like, I want that. Do that for me, Marvel. That is what I'm hoping for.
Quick thoughts about Chris Evans, Britt. Do you think he's coming back as Captain Hydra?
I think
there's a very solid chance for it.
I think it's Captain Hydra. If not, I don't know, because unless something has changed, he had said that he was never planning to come back as Steve Rogers, because he felt like that story was complete and he was fine with it. And he had said the only way I would come back to Marvel is if it's to do Johnny Storm, and then he did that. Yes. So when it's been rumored right now that he's coming back as Cap, that he's coming back to the MCU, I'm just like, if it's as Captain America, I just feel like it's, again, I need the money because I don't, yeah.
Hey, man, he got that Knives Out money, though, down Brittany Monet. he doing all right. Money. Yes. But yeah, I'm excited, man, like for what Marvel is going to offer us. And then to Brittany's point, you know, kind of the general malaise around Marvel the past 3 years. Going back to Brent's analogy, yes, this is a rebuilding franchise. Like, they won all the championships a decade ago. Mm-hmm. But it's not like they're the Cleveland Browns. Shout out to Vanessa Sharp. It's not like they've been a team that hadn't made the playoffs. They've been in the playoffs every year since then. Because there's at least, I would go as far as to say, Brent, there's at least one great Marvel thing every year that we've got.
Yep.
Now, has everything been great or even good? No, because they've given us so much. But there's been at least one great Marvel thing every year since Endgame, I would argue. So it's not like they forgot how to tell stories. Like, I think the capitalism did get in the way, kind of, Brent, of a cohesive narrative, because we're just putting out so much, and it's all got to tie together. And oh yeah, by the way, there's a global pandemic that's going to mess up some of this stuff. Oh, there's also 2 or 3 strikes that's going to mess up some of this stuff. So I feel like Marvel has hit a bit of a lull, but there's always been good stuff in this universe if you want to seek it out, and not let the people online affect your opinion of stuff before it even comes out. Because again, the Marvels, I had a really good time with the Marvels, despite what people will tell you or online, what people will say. But I think that's another thing that might have contributed to this, Brent. Since the original, since like the first couple of phases, is social media wasn't what it was back then, what it is today. And like, sometimes your perception of something based on the noise can become reality. And so if you keep hearing, hey, Marvel ain't got the juice, hey, Feige lost it, this stuff sucks, it's too woke, it's too black, it's too female, it's too gay, it's too whatever it is that you want to put on it, like, that's what your perception is going to be going into the theater. Not our perception, but some people out there. And that's going to affect the box office as well. So it's a lot of things, man. But I am hopeful for the future of Marvel, man. Like, even if they just give us nothing but Ant-Man Quantumania for the next 5 years, I'll begrudgingly be like, I'll watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Like,
I am. I think something we forgot to talk about is that I just remembered too is that Nate Moore is leaving Marvel Studios, which he is like the only I think one of the only Black producers involved in Marvel's creative approach. So that concerns me a little bit because then it's like how much I don't know how much he was responsible for any diversity we had, and it makes me a little.
I know he was a big factor with Falcon and Winter Soldier cap because both Mackie and Malcolm Spellman talked a lot about what Nate was doing in terms of the production of that show. So I know he was heavily keyed into that.
Apparently, he's still staying on for Black Panther 3.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that.
Oh yeah,
Black Panther 3 not starring, but featuring Denzel Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, they trying to tell me Marvel is gone, Brent. Marvel is back like it never left because Denzel is coming to Marvel.
The man who fears not the Marvel snipers. He just offhandedly mentioned it, to which everybody was like, wait, that's a thing? And I guess with
somewhere Tom Holland was like, how does he get to say it?
Yeah. And with that producer leaving, it confirmed that he was staying on for Black Panther 3, which I guess means it's in the works.
Yeah.
I'm very curious what that movie's going to be because I really liked Wakanda Forever, so I'm curious where they're going with it.
Yeah, Wakanda Forever is a good movie, man. I think, again, it's not without its flaws, but I enjoyed Wakanda Forever. And yeah, hearing the news about Denzel, Brittany, I don't know what character he's going to play. I've always been pushing for Denzel to be Blue Marvel. I think we might have passed the expiration date on that though, since Denzel's on his farewell tour, which is going to be 5 years of farewell tour, given the projects he's laid out. But I whatever Denzel's doing, let him do it, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance I think he said he's playing a villain. If not, I think he's more likely to play a villain. And I really hope so. After seeing Gladiator 2, he ate that role. That was great. I actually enjoyed Gladiator 2 more than I enjoyed Wicked. Wow. And I'm someone who is a fan of the Wicked stage show. I have seen it 2 or 3 times.
For folks who don't know, Brittany's legal government middle name is Elphaba.
But I think that him playing a villain will be really fun, or maybe a different world version of T'Challa.
And Denzel is not even going to try to attempt an accent, Brittany, because that's not what that man does.
Oh no, not at all.
He used to.
He used to, but then he was I think one day he woke up and he's like, I'm Denzel. Why am I fooling around with these accents? People want to see me.
Yeah, because he didn't have an accent in Gladiator 2.
Yes, no, he did not.
He was great. I loved Gladiator 2 a lot. I think that Denzel is going to be a nice addition to the MCU.
So you're Shuri, the Princess of Wakanda. You spilled your drink. You spilled your vibranium juice on my carpet. That's alpaca. You don't wipe that down, Shuri. You blot that out. King Kong ain't got nothing on me. It's my limited Denzel Washington to go along with my limited RDJ. See, that's why Brittany Monet is the voice actress, and I am just the mere podcaster. But this has been a fun episode of the Avengers Initiative, the final one, issue number 3. It's wild that we are almost a year into this project, and this is issue number 3. But hey, as Brent well knows, there's a lot of delays that go into comic books. So just imagine that Rob Liefeld is producing this show. We're behind schedule.
Me and him are enemies.
Rob Liefeld.
Oh, what did you do to Rob?
We got into a Twitter fight about Iron Fist.
Oh wow.
He it's weird. He blocked me on Facebook, but he doesn't have me blocked on anything else.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I thought Rob Liefeld and Brittany would be best friends because neither one of them like feet. Bam! Take that, Rob Liefeld.
Before they announced Finn Jones, me and him definitely got into a fight when I was like, look, I love Danny Rand in the comics, but there's no reason why he has to stay white. And we got into a fight about that, basically.
Oh, wow.
And I was not going to let him have it that he must maintain being white. And I'm like, no, it's literally about anyone can be a fish out of water in a freaking, you know, alternate dimension. Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
I agree.
Yeah, so we got into a fight.
It's not like Reed Richards, who has to be white, as we've established.
Yeah.
I was curious. I critiqued an artist that he loves to a fault, I would say. So that's how I got on his bad side. Which is funny because I'm actually a Liefeld fan. I won't get into it too much, but I really like his stuff. But like, he is an interesting fellow in comics.
What was Liefeld's studio at Image?
He had Extreme Studios.
Yes. Like, again, like I like some of Liefeld's work, like particularly when you're talking about like Cable and stuff like that.
Yep.
But yeah, like he's an interesting character, and like there's so many interesting figures. Like I think like Image, along with Milestone, like those are the two most fascinating comics companies in my lifetime, just because of like the formation of them and just like it's interesting, man.
There was a documentary on the founding of Image put out like 5 or 6 years ago. That's really worth watching, where they talk to everybody involved, and it's a pretty accurate portrayal of what went down, or like at least it's got like a couple different sides of the argument. So
and shout out to Jim Lee, who was like, "Hey man, this independent stuff cool, but you know, now I'm running DC. So what you want?"
And he's coming back to the drawing board this year, or next year. He's drawing Batman for like 8 or 9 issues by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I like Jim Lee's work. But that's going to do it for this edition of the Avengers Initiative. Shout out to Jennifer Smith, wherever she may be. But Brent, we're going to go around the horn. Can you let people know where they can find you, my friend, and any other things you want to shout out as we close out 2024, brother?
True North Nerds, truenorthnerds.com. It's the nerdy podcast that I co-host with my wife Jen and my friends Ryan and Kevin. We talk about comics, movies, very similar to what we are doing on this show right here. Patreon.com/truenorthnerds. For your listener/viewers importance, come Christmas Day, it will be out by then, even if it kills me. We have done a script reading of the 1985 He-Man She-Ra Christmas special, where we got a lot of our friends to participate, including one Nate Milton, who is playing one of the characters. That's actually, when you saw me looking at my phone, that was me texting with the young lady who's playing your sister in the show, who is on her way over to my home to finish up recording her stuff. Okay. So it has people from the Post Wrestling Network are involved with it. An editor from IDW is one of the voiceover actors. A whole bunch of different podcasters from all over the place. So, and one pro wrestler. So it's an interesting mix of people that we've gotten to be a part of.
Tell him I love him.
Pardon?
I said, if it's Roman Reigns, you don't have to confirm or deny, but just if it is him, let him know that I love him and think he's glorious.
I will deny that it's a Roman Reigns. I won't put that out there. But if I do happen to see him, I will let him know.
Brent managed to get Terry Bollea roped in for the Christmas special. Brother, what you gonna do, brother, when Hulk Hogan ruins Christmas?
Hulk Hogan's playing Skeletor.
Let's make it turn again, brother.
The funny part about that is Jen is playing She-Ra in the show, and she refers to He-Man as brother a lot in it, and like there's a couple points where she almost slips into like Hulk Hogan-esque brother. Wow. So there is an outtake that will be on the making of show of her doing at least one line. So.
That's awesome.
Thank you guys for having me. This was a lot of fun, and I would do it again in a minute.
Shout out to Brent, my time. Brent is mystified by my production skills. I ain't two-way Ray, but I'm trying, brother.
No worries.
Brittany Monet. See, I can be a voice actor too, ma'am. I didn't do RDJ voice for the He-Man special. But Brittany, my friend, can you let the people know what you got going on and where they can find all of your amazing work?
Well, as I said, I'm going to be, it's probably coming out now next Christmas. It was supposed to be a Christmas special for this year, but I am voicing Captain Monica Rambeau in a very fun, Marvel's Christmas, inspired by the Marvels. If you like that movie, Nate. Yeah. So I have that coming out eventually, but I'm on most social media platforms at Hi Brittany Monet. Ha 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 ha. And yeah, that's pretty much where I am at right now. I have other stuff that I'm not allowed to talk about yet, which when I can, that will be fun. Which I have some lines to finish up for that project. And yeah, that's all I've got right now. And this podcast, obviously.
Yes, and speaking of this podcast will return. We're going to put the Marvel credits up there. The Avengers Initiative will return. We don't know when. We don't know in what format. But it will be a part of the rebrand for the network starting in January. Nefarious Media coming to the stage in January. Tentatively, January 20th will be the official relaunch of Nefarious Media. And if you live in the States, that date may have a significance for you. Like there's always a meaning behind some of the things we do. We're very intentional here at the Kings of Sports / Nefarious Media. But yeah, Brittany Monet, you're always one of my favorite people to talk to. I'm glad we're able to make time for this. And Brittany,
yes.
Glad you could join us. In terms of me, obviously, Kings of Sport, we're going to try to get one more in before the end of the year. So time is ticking. But me, Chris, Two-Way Ray, and nephew Andrew, the youngest in charge, we're going to try to get one more episode of the Kings of Sport, possibly featuring a beige forefather, as Ray Williams is coined him. We might see the return of Marcus Vanderberg, but we'll see. We might get a Chris Mahana Kwanzaa miracle on these streets. The Nubian Wrestling Advocates post-wrestling newest episode is out. We dropped it on Sunday. It was a wild time. Our holiday kickback, Brent was there, as well as like 9 or 10 other people. Britt, I think at the highest count, we had maybe 14 people on the stream at a time.
Oh, really? Was that
Stream
many?
was looking like Hollywood squares. So that was fun. You can check that out over Post Wrestling. Brittany and I are still in name part of the Multiverse of Color. We've been bad at doing stuff over there with Vanessa and Clement, but maybe we'll have something in 2025.
Hopefully, yes.
That we can get together. But other than that, we are done here. We appreciate y'all for listening. Y'all have a safe and happy holiday season and
Yes.
Merry Christmas, safe and happy New Year. Brittany Monet, Brent doesn't know it, but there's a way we like to end these things, my friend. You don't remember how we end this show?
It's been so long.
What do we always say in the group chat? How do we end our messages?
Oh, latest gators.
Gators. Oh, I love you guys. Y'all be good. We'll see you next year for more of the Avengers Initiative. And now comes the trick, Brent, where I have to remove people from the screen and try to make this look professional. We'll see y'all next year.